fault. I swear to God, it was his fault.
No, you're the one who sent me a link later than you normally do. It's all your fault.
Don't believe him, chat. He's trying to pull the wool over your eyes and make poor little NOMZ out to be the victim.
Yeah,
Everyone's trying to play the blame
yeah,
game with NOMZ here.
yeah, Mr. Gandalf inspired Merlin.
You don't like Halo 4. Fuck you. I'm kidding. Okay. All right. What's up, everybody? How's it going? We're back. Sorry we're late. Yeah, it was my fault, but in my defense, just waking up. Just me and Cool Man catching up from like over the week and stuff, and we're here now, which is the important thing. As you can see by the thumbnail, we're covering a very interesting video done by Chris Stuckmann, who is one of my personal favorites, or I don't know if he's one of my favorites now, but he's definitely the reason I started doing YouTube. So I know a lot of you don't like him. Fair enough. Respect where it's due. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be together if it wasn't for Chris. So, keep that in mind. Chris has had a very big year this year. He's left his faith, which was the Jehovah's Witnesses, and he put out a very interesting video about that. I certainly gained a lot of respect for him for doing that. Chris is also doing his own feature-length movie. He's fulfilling his dream of being a director, which Mazel Tov, as a long-time viewer, I'm very happy for him. Recently, he even announced he's had twins. So Stuckmann, as it would seem, has super sperm, and yeah, he and his wife are having a family and twins. Who'd have known he had it in him? So Mazel Tov to Chris for that. And then this video came out, and I forget who it was who told me to watch it, but I did, and I really liked most of it. So this isn't going to be... I mean, I can't speak for Cool Man. I would like to. I would like if he thought exactly as I thought, but he doesn't. He has his own way of thinking. This isn't really going to be a very harsh stream on Chris. I want to clear that up right now. It's actually... we're actually going to watch and just kind of observe and just give our thoughts on it. I think, and I told Cool Man not to watch this video because, well, I thought he might find it intriguing too, but it'd be better if he just kind of reacted to it on stream, which is what we're going to do. Anyway, so how you feeling there, man? You
Good.
ready? Okay, we'll talk to
ready.
chat first for a little bit. Wait for chat to fill up. I see a few familiar faces. What the hell? I have a serious question. You are aware you are listed on the UFC Hall of Famer Michael Bisping's channel under subscriptions. Is there a... Oh, yeah. Oh, his wife is... Am I really on that? Okay. I had no idea. I didn't realize he was subscribed. So, because Michael Bisping's actually my favorite fighter of all time. Okay, so this is interesting. I had no idea he was subscribed to me. I think so. Way back when I made a video when he retired. This is back when I spoke about UFC on this channel. It was a long time ago. And this is back when Michael Bisping's channel wasn't very big. His channel back then was called Believe You Me. It was his podcast, and he only had like 60,000 subscribers. But he wasn't really pushing his YouTube channel. He was just kind of streaming on there. Ever since he started doing videos seriously, he's fucking skyrocketed. He's like almost at 300,000 subs now. And he did so within the past 6 months. So good for him. Yeah, so with Michael Bisping, yeah, I was basically very sad after he retired. And I made a video basically just giving my thoughts and telling you people what made me really become a fan of him in the first place. It was, if you must know, if for any UFC fans out there, it was the fight between Michael Bisping and Anderson Silva that really got me into the UFC. Because in the past I've been a big fan of professional wrestling, and the UFC is not professional wrestling. But if you watch Michael Bisping versus Anderson Silva, the drama in that fight and what happens and like the controversy and stuff, it actually plays out kind of like a pro wrestling match would.
But like actually for real.
I mean, not physically, like no one's hitting chairs with each other, but like, like let's say there's like a controversial thing with the referee, and then there's like a come from behind story, and the underdog triumphs over the champion, even though Anderson Silva wasn't the champion at the time. He was like the most feared fighter, or one of the most feared fighters in the UFC at that point, and Michael Bisping Yeah, well, yeah, I'll spoil it. Michael Bisping won that fight, and the manner of which he did will really make you respect him. He took a flying knee to the face and got back up. Like it was, yeah, it's something else. So yeah. Um, by the way, Top Shelf, I haven't seen you around in a while, so good to have you. Hope you guys enjoy that story. But apparently, he saw that video and he subscribed and or he commented or he subscribed. I forget what he did exactly. I don't think he commented, but he subscribed. And what happened was Michael Bisping was I just didn't think anything of it. I thought it might have been a dummy account, but then someone's like, "Hey, that's the real Michael Bisping, do you know?" And I'm like, "Really?" I was like, "He hasn't said anything." Um, and well, yeah, like I just thought I just kind of forgot about that because like, I haven't really he hasn't really commented on my videos or anything like that. I didn't realize he was still because like I don't really talk about what he talks about, so I didn't realize. I thought he wouldn't still be subscribed, but if he is, that's great. Anyway, because he's my favorite fighter of all time. So there you go. Um, hopefully that's an interesting, nice story for you guys to start this. Yeah, this happened like a long time ago. This is like back in 2018. If you had to put it as a percent, how much of the Lucas sale would you say was fans? RLM, Chris, and how much of it was other stuff, family money, and oh, okay, I'd say 40 to 50% was backlash, um, and the rest of it was like business and family. And what do you think? Because I know we spoke about this last time with Angel.
Yeah, I would say probably relatively low in terms of the reasons why he specifically sold it, because I know
Mm-hmm.
that there were some issues with money, like some like groups like or part of the company were like having money problems. So I think he was thinking of already selling it, and the constant backlash from the fans was something that probably pushed him to do it sooner than he would have. And then of
Mm-hmm.
course we have to factor in the fact that he had Bob Iger in his ear whispering, "Hey man, just sell it to me, I'll take care of it, I'll be your buddy for years," like pushing him into doing that. So like there like there are like, I know we talk about like the fans affecting him, but like I
Mm.
really do think that like it did affect him, but that wasn't the whole reason why. It was I think it was less of, because I think he would have eventually sold it anyway, because like he's already talked about how he felt like he was getting too old to do a new like trilogy of movies, even though he's been around for this whole new trilogy and he could have
Mm.
made it. But
Yeah,
I
I was.
I I
Yeah,
feel like
go.
he was going to do it eventually anyway, but the constant backlash from fans over everything he did probably pushed him to do it sooner.
Mm. And I certainly think it led to him relinquishing so much control at the very least. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure he would have. I think we said this last week too. He would have fought harder to keep control of his IP if he felt like he wasn't, if he felt like he could deal with the backlash. But he's George Lucas. Like when I see all like Ryan Johnson and like I heard Seth Rogen now is like calling out fans for backlash and like like
Yeah.
was it Elizabeth Banks was doing it too? Like all these people calling out fans for their backlash and for criticizing them. Like they have no room to fucking talk because George Lucas had it tenfold and he never lashed out at the fans. He never ever lashed out as far as I can tell.
Yeah, yeah, like
And even if
literally
he did, I could perfectly understand. Depending on what he said, I could perfectly understand him venting some frustration. But George
yeah.
Lucas never did because he's a professional.
I think the
He,
worst thing he had ever said was that comment about how a lot of the critics are cinematically illiterate. That's it. Like that's the worst I've ever heard him say.
he did kind of get a little bit flustered when he was talking about when he was refuting claims of racism towards Jar Jar. Like he was kind of like uh
How can
I
you look
mean,
at this character?
not defensive or anything, but he was just kind of like you could tell by the way he was talking. He was just like, where the fuck are these guys getting these notions from? Like you could tell he was a little bit
Miffed.
kind of like just taken aback from it. Like what? Like I said, flustered, not angry, just kind of like again like. I suppose it would be frustrating because you're like, that's not what I was going for at all, and you guys just completely missed the point. Now you're misrepresenting me. But it's people and their agendas for you. Big phrase. Cool man is just a hater. Yes, we know he is the
Huh?
hate man. Hate man 229.
Yeah, that's actually my alt account.
Hey man, how you doing? Noble Six, how you doing, man? I'm excited too for Infinite. I know you're excited. Uh, I don't dislike Chris Stuckmann, but I absolutely hate Cosmonaut. I mean, I don't hate Cosmonaut, but I can understand why people do. Begun the Clone Wars have. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Clone Wars ended like in 2020, but anyway. Mood cap. I like Chris, but absolutely hate when he gets all. Yeah, me too. I hate when he gets a bit pretentious. He has a tendency to do that sometimes. Sup, Ace. Good to see you. Blemished. Fucking Halo. How's it going? It's good to see you as well. Hey, you up. Interrupted story time with Vite. I'm sorry. You're well welcome to tell the story in the Discord. We're experiencing technical issues back when we were still getting started. Yeah. How you doing, Ghost? Critical doesn't like prequels. Can we save him? I don't know if he doesn't like the prequels. I'm pretty sure he just had a really weird take on why Jake Lloyd got like he blamed Lucas, which was really weird for why Jake Lloyd went into like a psych ward or whatever.
I love how the fans who are complicit in or directly involved in his harassment are like, "Ha, this is all George Lucas's fault."
Yeah. Have I read the episode 9 first script called Duel of the Fates? Is this regarding Rise of Skywalker? No, I haven't. If that's the case, because I haven't indulged in any sequels content in a long time. I've just sort of been so disconnected from it because I'm so sick of the sequels. I want nothing to do with it. Just 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 over it. You know what I mean? It's one of the reasons why I haven't finished my Rise of Skywalker series, which I'm thinking I might actually finish in 2022. But I might restructure it. Um, I go to I got to get back to it because I did put a lot of work into like doing it, but like at the same time I was also doing it like when it first came out and like there wasn't like HD footage available and things like that. So yeah. Um. Cool man. Do you want to get us started with the video by any chance?
Sure. I got the video right here.
Okay, so here's the thing, guys. We started late, but we're getting on task very quickly, which is new for us. We usually have like a 40-minute like intro, don't we?
No.
What's this here? I googled, and apparently he will have the most input in Mandalorian season 3. Are we talking about George here? Okay.
I don't think Mandalorian season 3 is going to happen. Like I think like now that they've springboarded with other shows, like I think they're going to focus on a Book of Boba Fett. I think that's going to be their new thing, and then they're going to probably springboard more shows off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like as much as they're leaving it hanging of, oh, will Mando find Grogu?
Like, will they see each other again?
Yeah. I think they're done with that. Like it's like I really don't think they're gonna do it again, especially with the whole it's going on hiatus. Like, wait, this is your most popular thing in years, and you're just putting it on hiatus.
You know why it's going on hiatus? Because they just wanted to do Boba Fett. That's all they've ever wanted to fucking do, and they managed to fucking slip him into Mandalorian. It's like, oh, people want Boba Fett now. Okay, abandon Mandalorian. Let's do Boba Fett. Let's just do Boba Fett straight away. We Mando can wait because we finally get to do Boba Fett. And it's like, first off, you could have just done that to begin with, and secondly, just like fuck you for using Mandalorian as a, which could have been really good, but you used it as a springboard for other fucking shows you wanted to set up in this cinematic dumpster fire you call a universe. Yeah, fuck you, Disney. What do you think they will make first? Episode 10, 11, 12, or a reboot of the original? Ooh, that's a good question. I think a reboot of, no, actually I don't know. What do you think? That's an interesting question. I don't think
Well,
either are off the table. It's
yeah.
Disney after all.
I my first instinct was to say a reboot because I think they would want to wait, give some time before they do more sequels. But then again, if they try to reboot it, that's going to be a disaster. That no one's
Yeah.
going to like it. It's
Yeah.
going to crash and burn immediately. And then it's like I can't use that. That wouldn't be popular with fans as a metric for how likely it is to happen because it's freaking Disney. Like they don't care. So
Yeah.
no.
All right. So I'm scrolling down the rest of the chat. Unlimited ads.
Unlimited.
John Core. Hey guys. Hey, what's up? Does he have any input? I doubt it. I think they're going to advertise it as we spoke to George, but that usually means we just consulted him and ignored him.
Well, just like what happened with Rise of Skywalker. Remember how they made a big deal about how, George Lucas is involved, and then what did that amount to? Nothing. Nothing.
He was gonna use the son of Mortis as the villain, but Disney was afraid that not enough people saw the Clone Wars, which immediately the film watchers, strictly film watchers, would have been a little bit lost. I still think it would have been a better fucking villain than bringing back Palpatine. But
Yeah,
and that's if the rumors were true. And actually, I having thought about it, would they do a reboot or episodes 10, 11, and 12 first? Honestly, I think they'll do 10, 11, and 12 because they're not for like another 10 years or whatever. But the reason I say that is because they haven't decanonized the sequels yet. They're using external canon to try and justify them. And then they're going to do episodes 10, 11, and 12. And they're going to have they're going to advertise, they're going to try and, even though they're not decanonizing and admitting that they made a mistake with the sequel trilogy, I think they'll do sequels that follow them, but feel disconnected and they'll might try and learn from their mistakes. They'll still be political and woke as hell, but they won't be as nonsensical as the sequels will be. I don't imagine they could do anything worse than 7, 8, and 9.
Don't challenge them.
I know, don't challenge them, but it's just because and I'm pretty sure George Lucas has a shit ton of clause in his contract that they can't reboot Star Wars. They can't modify the original trilogy movies. So yeah, I think George Lucas is very protective of. He was fine with fan edits and shit like that, but he's very protective of having his work meddled with on a
corporate level.
On corporate level, yes. Thank you. So that's why I reckon it's going to be episodes 10, 11, and 12, but they'll be a long way off, and they're going to use Mandalorian and shit to set that up, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Book of Boba Fett and the Ahsoka series as well. I'm actually somewhat curious about the Ahsoka series, but I can't. Hayden Christensen being in it is just really. He better just be in flashbacks. I don't know, man. I'm really worried, but
I mean, rematch of the century.
I don't want them to do my boy Christensen dirty. Anyway, and I really hope once Kenobi gets the backlash that Hayden and Ewan don't start lashing out at fans. Because they didn't do it for the prequels. I mean, that's how I think you'll know it's Disney, because they didn't do it for the prequels, and the prequels got its fair share of backlash. But if they start lashing out at fans and saying, man babies and white supremacists and all that bullshit, you'll know it's Disney twisting their arm, because they didn't do it for the prequels. They just took it on chin and went about their business.
Yeah.
Disney is run by children, and they employ and encourage childish antics from grown-ass men and women who should be acting like professionals, because that's the world used to be run by professionals and now it's not.
Yeah, I
Which is
mean,
why it's going to shit.
yeah, and you'll see this a lot with like companies, like if they get backlash from something, they'll try to use like actors and stuff that people like to shout them down. For example, when Teen Titans Go like came out and it got ripped to shreds for being a complete dumpster fire, they got the original voice actors for the Teen Titan characters, but the characters are nothing like what they used to be. They're just absolute insulting caricatures. But they put out, I think it was like a Vine or something. This was way back then when Vine was still around. And they put this video out of all the voice actors basically telling fans to shut up and stop caring about like this. And it was wildly out of character with how they like those actors act with their fans, at least.
Yeah,
because I don't know what they're all like totally, but they usually don't like get snippy with fans like that. But then all of a sudden there was this video and it's like they were just like, hey, stop caring, we're Teen Titans, so get over it, basically. And it's like,
yeah,
it felt like that was them, like the Cartoon Network was just like, no, make this video, they'll listen to you, they won't listen to us if we tell them they're man babies, so you have to call them man babies.
Wow.
which didn't do them any favors, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm pretty sure, like, common sense, they know, like, just any most celebrities know not to, like, kick the hornet's nest by doing that. But, like, yeah, these companies are just run by the worst people now. I don't know how the fuck they got in there in the first place, but, something needs to be done about that. That's why channels like this exist. Anyway, so this is an interesting comment. Hey, NOMZ comment, did you see this video responding to RJ's rocket jumps, how Star Wars was saving the edit? It was pretty enlightening. We were like one of the first to fucking discover it. Okay, maybe not the first, but like we were one of the first channels to cover it and speak about it. And,
we literally
tried to promote it.
Yeah, we covered it on a stream and linked to it and everything.
Yeah, I mean, the stream's down now. I might put it back up because people have asked me if they can. There's a handful of streams they'd like me to repost, which I might just do. That's one of them, actually, because I really want Nerdonymous' video to be seen by people, because it's a very, I mean, it's he knows way more about the whole saving the edit than I do, but it basically falls in line with everything that I've been saying about Lucas being misrepresented and like. Yeah, like, I mean, there's a really big rabbit hole concerning George Lucas, and every time people have misquoted him, people have got shit wrong in his movies, and people have made just these wild fucking assumptions that were just completely factually wrong. I had no idea. I had enough common sense to know that, like, most movies are saved in the edit anyway, so, like, you can't exactly praise Marshall Lucas as this, like, martyr, this hero. But, like, I had no idea how deep that rabbit hole went with, like, just... Rocket Jump lied his ass off in his video to sell a narrative. Because that was the narrative at the time. It was all fucking anti-George Lucas, anti-prequels, blah, blah, blah. Definitely check out Nerdonymous' How Star Wars Was Not Saved in the Edit. It's very good video.
The video specifically is called How Star Wars Was Saved in the Edit Was Saved in the Edit by Nerdonymous. As a matter of fact, I'll get the link for that right now and post it in the chat. Yeah,
you can do that. We're about to start the video, guys. Don't worry, we're getting on topic. We're doing it. Is Teen Titans Go still going? I haven't seen it. It looks weird. I loved the original Teen Titans, but I don't really remember a lot of it, which is a shame.
Oh yeah, you should rewatch the original Teen Titans show.
I mean, I would. I got a lot of shows to rewatch. I got Batman the Animated Series to watch. I got Cowboy Bebop to watch, the good one, obviously. I got a lot of stuff was on my agenda. Okay, are we ready to get? I'll start us on. Okay. So Cool Man has control. I'll just tell him what to do. And let's get started. Let's watch this video by Chris.
How's the audio for you?
I can hear it. Chat, let us know if you can't hear it.
Okay, it's a little loud for me.
Thanksgiving is over, and that means it's time to bust out some of these ugly sweaters. Very excited about that. Happy holidays, happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, season's greetings, happy Hanukkah, all that stuff. Have fun in December. Hope you guys have a good one. I have wanted to talk about something for a long time. A question I get asked quite often is, has my opinion on a movie ever changed? Whether that's going up or going down, liking it less or liking
pause
it
per sec.
despite how much film critics don't like to.
4 blocks. I'm not a fan of his new intro either. I like his old one where the explosion comes in.
Yeah,
it's got the like Mexican guitar playing in the background.
This one feels like it's trying really hard to be really professional.
I think he's just nervous about this. He talks about that how you'll see what I mean. You'll see why I wanted to watch this video. It is a good video. Mostly, I have 1 or 2 issues with it, but audio is clearer than Disney's money-making schemes. He says, "Damn, he's dead inside. He's probably exhausted from raising his twins, my dude." Like,
I was going to say he looks like there's like zero energy or care. Just like he looks like he's about to just fall asleep.
Yeah, but I kind of get that vibe a little bit, but I still think I don't know. I'm used to Chris at this point. Volume for the video is a bit low. Also, what's up? Hey, what's up? Yeah, maybe put it a little bit higher, Cool Man.
I don't know, maybe it seems a little bit louder to me because I'm the one.
Well, I mean, do you have your headphones up too high? Maybe.
Oh no, like that. That's just fine. Like,
okay. Well, I don't expect it to get much louder because the intro's done, so I think it should be right.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, let's keep going.
Talk about this. This happens all the time. I think a lot of film critics can sometimes get worried that their opinion will be taken less seriously if they admit that it's changed since they wrote or filmed a review. Film critics are people just like everybody else, and you can watch a movie and not really get it or just not appreciate it, then watch it again later and suddenly you found something about it you liked. Or you can see a movie and you were kind of swept up in the experience and maybe you had a great audience experience. Maybe everybody in the theater was having a good time and everybody was excited, and then you watched it at home alone and it was kind of like, it's fine. My best example of that is Avatar. Avatar is a movie that I loved in theaters and saw like 3 or 4 times. And when I got the Blu-ray and watched it at home, I honestly didn't even finish it. It's not that the movie's bad. I'm not saying that at all. I still
it's generic,
Avatar, but it just it lost something.
I like Avatar.
Giant screen and the 3D experience and all of that. So this video though.
That's because you don't know why it's so bad, and you don't understand why it's such a garbage cliche dumpster fire full of a bunch of
I
green.
think I understand well enough, but I mean, people say it's Dances with Wolves. I say, yeah, so is The Last Samurai. I don't care.
No, like it's just an uncreative movie that doesn't do anything. It's really stupid, and especially if you actually know any of the lore. The humans are not.
Maybe plot wise, it's generic, but everything else I'd say is creative as fuck. Like I'd say that movie.
It looks visually nice
everywhere.
It looks nice, and that's it. Like it's got nice production values. Had people that you can pay to make it look nice, but other than that, like in terms of its writing, it's extremely weak, and the characters are extremely poorly written. So he's actually correct on this because this is the same experience I saw a lot of people have. I mean, I never liked it, but there were a lot of people who got hyped up seeing it in like IMAX 3D, and then they got it and they watched it at home, and then they were like, "Oh, without all the spectacle, this is kind of just a generic movie."
Mm-hmm. I mean, the spectacle was great. I mean, I remember seeing Avatar in movies, and it was really good.
Yeah, it goes to saying, yeah, the humans are the good guys. Yeah, humanity is facing like really significant dangers. Like they need the unobtainium. But then the Na'vi, like, and in terms of lore or stuff, and I didn't really know all of the lore before, but like there was like lore about like humans trying to talk to them to work things out, and the Na'vi were just extremely violent to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, oh, so it's the Na'vi that have caused all of the problems. And then they're being portrayed as unambiguously good, and then the humans are just evil, and it's like,
Well, I think it's a bit more than that, but like, I mean, yeah, the humans tried, and then the Na'vi wouldn't play ball, and then the humans just wanted to take what they would, and they, of course, it had to be under their sacred tree, which is their home.
Yeah, of course, in order to maximize how evil the humans look. It's super cliche.
I mean, well, wouldn't that make sense as to why the humans are trying to fucking make niceties with the Na'vi in the first place?
Well, yeah, but the problem is this stuff is like barely even touched on in the movie. Like, this is stuff you have to learn from external materials that completely flips the entire narrative.
Let's put a pause on this. You keep mentioning the lore. Where are you getting this lore from? My lore goes as far as Avatar: The Extended Edition. That's it.
There was stuff like in the production, and because what's his name? Frickin' James Cameron. Yeah, he did come up with a lot of like lore and stuff, and I think there's like behind the scenes stuff that touches on this, but like. If anyone could actually point to like the specific sources, but that would be great. But like, there is more going on in this movie than what you see in the movie. The problem is James Cameron is like, I want to tell this story over like 10 movies, and then it's like, okay, you got one. I'm like, and it's been over a decade, and it's like, okay, he says he's making a sequel. Like, if there was supposed to be more, then you probably should have gotten on that 10 years ago. It's bad, and I would say that he's correct in this like revelation he had about Avatar.
Yeah, no, look, to each their own. I mean, he says he doesn't hate Avatar. He just kind of found it not as enthralling or cliche after the initial spectacle had worn off, is what he's saying. As for Pride Dogs, like, can I name any of the characters, main or side? Yeah, Jake Sully's the main character. Fucking Trudy, Norm, Grace,
the Colonel dude, the guy who was like crazy.
I love the Colonel. I forget his name because I just know him as Colonel. But
it starts with a Q. I can't remember, but I liked him. I wanted him to kill Jake and everyone else because they annoyed me so much. I wanted him to win in the end. I was so disappointed when he died.
I love his opening monologue. It was like, every little thing out there that crawls, flies, or squats in the mud wants to kill you and eat your eyes for jujubes. Head of security, it is my job to keep you alive. I will not succeed. Not with all of you. Sorry, go. Sorry.
He's so cartoony and over the top. He just has this overbearing personality, and he's like the only character who feels entertaining to watch.
He is entertaining. I enjoy the shit out of him.
Quark. People are saying Quark. Yes. Okay. Colonel Quark. I knew it started with a Q, but I can't remember any of their names.
Yeah, no. So like, I like the Avatar cast. I think they're fine. I like Sam Worthington, Sigourney Weaver. I love that Sigourney Weaver brings a link from Alien. Like, I'm sure that was very intentional on James Cameron's behalf. So.
I'm not going to say any of the actors are bad. Like, all the actors are good.
No, we're talking about characters here, not actors. Yeah, but, like, I'm just saying I like the cast.
There's only no, it's Papa Dragon. But there's only so much any of these actors can do with the script they're given. Like, if they're given a really weak script, no matter how good of an actor they are, you have freaking Sigourney Weaver in here, and she's playing this extremely two-dimensional scientist. I'm like, the fact that Sigourney Weaver's character is one of the most boring and flat characters, like, you did her so dirty in this.
No, I disagree. Parker by I think his name's Parker by Giovanni Ribisi. I like Giovanni Ribisi. I can't pronounce his last name. I apologize. He's a good actor. I thought Sigourney Weaver brought a lot of flair to her role. Like, as the scientist, she was like uptight but she was also personable as well. Like, she had her own agendas.
She was generic good scientist trapped with bad group. That's it.
I mean, is that really generic though? Like, I don't see a lot of that, but
yes. Yes. I can tell you that Otacon in Metal Gear Solid from 1998 fits that exact character trope, but he's way more interesting because he's an otaku who wants you to call him an abbreviation for Otaku Convention. It's like, yeah, it is a cliche. Like,
I mean, I personally don't think so. But
no,
I mean,
that's not a subjective thing. It is a cliche.
Is it? Like,
yes.
Like, I don't know. I just haven't. Maybe I just you've watched more sciencey shit than I have. I don't know.
Yes, I have. I have seen more movies and media.
I mean, am I justified in saying Walter White is generic dude dying who takes the law into his own hands?
I haven't watched Breaking Bad, so I can't tell you much about.
Right. You know, but my point stands. Like, is it really generic, or does it have to be like? How do we know when something is generic? What point does it have to reach?
Well, I would say that specifically Walter White's character of becoming a bad guy, going from a normal person to a bad guy, is something that is relatively uncommon. It's not that it's never been done, but it is relatively uncommon. Especially in mainstream media. Yeah. But like, even Charlie, he's like, "Nom, stop being a normie."
Being a normie? I don't think I'm a normie at all. And again, like the biggest... these, like, the whole regarding the lore of Avatar that you're mentioning, like, that's certainly deeper than what I usually hear about Avatar, which is that it's just dances of wolves in space or Pocahontas.
Well, yeah. Space. Well, no, the movie isn't deep because a lot of this lore isn't in the movies. This is stuff you have to hear about from behind the scenes or stuff that James Cameron came up with but didn't put in the movie. Like that's actually a problem a lot of people have, that They took what could have been a far more interesting and nuanced story that had more depth, and they cut it out to make the story more of a cookie cutter, generic good guy versus bad guy.
Oh, so like you're talking about all the stuff that was included in the extended edition that wasn't in the final cut.
No, not extended edition. Stuff that's not in the movie. Period.
Oh, that could have been.
Yeah. That's what people talk about. It's not like you can just add a couple scenes that fixes things, but like a lot of the stuff with the lore, it should change how like the whole conflict in reality is far more morally gray than the movie portrays. That humanity is in desperate need of something like unobtainium, which by the way is an extremely uncreative name.
I thought it was all right.
No, but it's the fact that they need this for like the survival of humanity compared to the Na'vi who don't need it at all. Like, you know, they could have worked it around, but like, yeah, the humans are being dicks, but they've already tried years and years of negotiation. So it's like that already spins the entire narrative, because the way it's framed in the movie is humans bad. Them being like evil capitalist man wants to destroy forest for money. And then, ooh, poor Na'vi. They've never done anything wrong ever. They come and they fight the bad humans and drive them away. That's how it's framed in the movie. Right. When in reality, it should be far more complex. And if it was more complex, it actually would add a lot more depth to Jake's whole, his conundrum about what side to pick. Because it's not just side with humans because we told you to. It's, you know, do I help my species or do I help them? Do I help the Na'vi now that I'm getting chummy with them? Like, it actually does become far more complex than, oh, they basically force him to side with the Na'vi because they're so evil.
I mean, that's interesting. That's certainly an interesting take. Like, I'll have to rewatch Avatar and tell you what I think. But again, what I was trying to say before we went on this tangent is like people saying it's Pocahontas in space, Dance to Wolves in space.
Yep.
I think the trope of an outsider being tossed into a conflict with like an opposing side and then being taken in by the opposing side, learning the intricacies and the nuance behind their culture, and then learning to value them, and then trying to and then kind of realizing the side he was on was wrong, and then trying to fight for the side he was originally thought were the bad guys. I think that's that's the Last Samurai. That's why I say I don't like the whole Dances of Wolves thing with The Pocahontas thing is something else, like maybe, but yeah, the whole Dances with Wolves thing. Like I've read the synopsis for Dances with Wolves. I've seen The Last Samurai many times. It's one of my favorite movies ever. So yeah, I take a big steaming dump on the whole, Avatar. It like I said again, look, Avatar. You could say Avatar follows a derivative plot, but I think it
Yes.
distinguishes itself enough.
Okay, yeah.
be-
Ghost is saying there's a literal trope named after that general plot. It's called going native.
Going native, okay. So yeah,
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
It follows that. Like I'm fine with that. I never really denied that. It was just I don't like that being the end of the discussion. So yeah, it's a cool man's credit. He gave me a lot to think about. I certainly don't think that's gonna make me hate the movie, but it might make me think lesser of it.
I don't want you to hate it, but just to think deeper about like the movie and the actual like qualities of its writing.
I think I'll think deeper about why certain decisions were made. Is what I might actually like with the plot, with the story.
I like the constant suggestions of Princess Mononoke. That's a great movie.
I've heard of that, and I've heard Angel compare Princess Mononoke to Avatar.
Yeah,
in terms
but
of
it's way better. It's actually a Studio Ghibli movie.
It's an anime, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's anime movie.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah. NOMZ Cool Man told me terrible things. What things? He said you turned to the dark side. That you liked the Clone Wars. I mean, I'm pretty sure I made a 3-hour video saying I liked the Clone Wars, but I don't like certain things about it. If that clears it up.
You like more of it than I do.
Yeah, I like more of it than he does. Noms, you're more normie than you think you are. Sorry, you're more normie than you think you are. Sorry. Hey,
It's true.
I mean, that's because I haven't really like Avatar is something I haven't really revisited in a long time. So like, what I mean, like, I'm not as well versed into, Avatar as a production and James Cameron and his thought process behind it than as I am with, like, for example, Star Wars and like the Matrix sequels is another thing I want to revisit. And I'll be making a video about the Matrix sequels very soon because I've seen a lot of people. I mentioned this last time, didn't I? Like about how people say the action's boring, and I strongly disagree with that. But at the same time, I haven't really looked into the behind the scenes of the Matrix and things like that in terms of not just the sequels but the original as well. So yeah, it's just something I got to familiarize myself with. Princess Mononoke, the Other Kin. What is the Other Kin movie? What's that?
The what?
Anormie Inc. Anomaly. I like that. Yeah, a lot of people don't seem to like Avatar. What is wrong with you people? Wink,
What's wrong
wink.
with you?
I have a heart. That's what's wrong with me. Anyway.
So do I, and it's been
Bullshit!
hardened. And it's been
Bullshit!
hardened.
You have a
It's-
heart. Hate
It's
Man
been
229.
hardened. It's been hardened by suffering and pain, like Avatar 2009.
God, when do you reckon? I reckon when James Cameron makes his fucking first sequel to that, it's going to be probably the biggest movie of that year. I reckon.
If
Anyway,
anyone shows up for it.
what?
If anyone shows up for it,
Oh, if anyone shows up for it,
he's like,
I
made
will.
the
I'm
sequel.
interested.
No, I'm still be the only person in theaters to see the movie.
I don't care.
It's just
Fuck
you.
it. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll be fucking the only. I'll have a theater all to myself, and I'll get to see Avatar too. Fucking bite me. Anyway. All right. Okay. Now the Avatar. Okay. I think we should leave it there for the Avatar tangent. That was not meant to happen.
Yeah, that was like a
that was
that was
actually that was fun. I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's keep.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah. Let's keep going.
So I'm going to focus on movies that I like more than I used to. Some of these movies I have reviewed in the past, and some I haven't. You might be wondering, do those reviews not count anymore since your opinion has changed or at least altered slightly? Of course not. No, for every single one of these movies, all of the flaws that I may have mentioned in a video in the past, I still recognize them and I still have those issues with the movie. I just care about them less. The first
Okay,
one
pause,
is The
pause.
Godfather Part 3.
Okay. Now, Yes, Godfather Part 3. Yes, I don't know. You've seen The Godfathers, have you, or no?
I have not seen any of them.
Okay, well, all right. This is more applicable to me then. Um, I watched the Godfather trilogy last time. I think it was 2020. I watched all of them. When I rewatched Godfather 3 as an adult, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And even, I mean, Chris will go into depth as to why. Like, you can just tell this movie, it's not as good as the first two. And there are a couple of videos out there that I've watched that defend Godfather 3 and basically say, look, it's not as good as the first two, but we kind of had this movie wrong because we thought it was going to be like the first two. It's not, because Michael Corleone is like way older and he's got different priorities and things like that, with the business and with the family. Now, there is one tiny fucking moment in The Godfather 3 that really knocks it down a peg. It doesn't affect the plot or anything like that. It's just a WTF moment. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. But basically, there is. I'll put it this way: there is a life or death situation happening where it's kind of like run for your lives. Like, everybody get the fuck to safety. And this one of the mafia bosses, he's like, he won't leave. And then I think his capo regime is like, come on, we have to go. We have to get out of here. And he's like, my lucky coat. And I'm just like, what the fuck? It's life or death, dude. You have to run. He's like, my lucky coat. And then spoiler, he dies. It's funny as hell. But it's just like, where did that come from? Like, this is a Godfather movie, and we have a mafia boss who wants his lucky coat. It's like, dude, what are you that's like my biggest problem with the movie. It's tiny, it affects nothing, but it's just like, what? And then Francis Ford Coppola, who mentored George Lucas, by the way, just FYI, he made the Godfather trilogy, but he actually cast his daughter as Michael Corleone's daughter, and that was probably one of the biggest criticisms, because she wasn't a very good actor. Apparently she's a very good director, which, I mean, if she's Francis Ford Coppola's daughter, I can understand why she's a good director. But I mean, I didn't have too much of an issue with her, but I can certainly see why people criticized her acting. But yeah, but as a movie, it's a fucking good movie, Godfather Part 3. It's just not as good as the first two. So I was really kind of surprised. I was like, yes, way to go, Chris. Good stuff. But when he's talking about like how his reviews and stuff still count from what he said before, like, yeah, thank you. Fucking Erodion siding with me for a change. Yeah, when he said like his reviews and stuff count, like, be that as it may, like, there's still the factor that like his reviews weren't entirely accurate. Let's make clear. So, I don't know if Chris watches this back, whatever. So, like, yeah, I mean, feel how you feel, but if what you say wasn't entirely, if you gave an assessment of a movie based on false facts or things that weren't entirely accurate to the plot or whatever, then I mean, those reviews in a sense would be outdated to an extent. Anyway.
Yeah,
but that's just when things change. Like Jeremy Johns said it best: like, you get new data and you process that new data. Jeremy Johns is a fucking legend.
Yeah, I was constantly thinking that this almost sounds like he's saying some of that kind of stuff, where it almost feels like he's having a bit of a similar experience to what what's his name, frick.
Just said cool, man.
Jeremy Johns.
Yes.
What Jeremy Johns was saying before.
What, in his Disney Star Wars video, or
no, in the video where he talked about like changing information, like processing information and stuff.
I'm pretty sure that was his fans versus Disney video, but yeah, no, and he spoke a lot about it in his George Lucas felt betrayed video. Yeah. Nick Cage is actually a Coppola. What? Is he? No, he couldn't be.
I don't know.
He's like a distant cousin or something. I don't know much about Nick Cage, so yeah. NOMZ, I'm a man of standards. It's not a matter of siding with anyone. Liar! Liar! Okay, let's keep going, buddy.
All right.
There's going to be a lot of part 3s on this list. I noticed when I was
there's a
reason,
dude
don't know
soaring
why,
something next to my house. It's like
I
loud.
rated
I
against
apologize
them when I
if you can
first
hear
saw
it.
them, and later was like, it's not that bad. Godfather 3 gets a lot of shit, mostly because of a really bad casting choice. Francis Ford Coppola cast Sofia Coppola in a major role, and she's a great director. That's what I'll say. And it affected the movie poorly, but also because the first 2 films are so good and part 3 is kind of good. I rewatched it last year, and I don't know if it's just that times have changed so much and we don't see big movies like this anymore, of this kind of scale with this type of story. And that's going to be a major talking point throughout most of this video. Types of movies that are made today, looking back on the ones that were made not 20, 30 years ago, even some of these ones later, and how that can sort of recontextualize the way you view a movie that you saw in the theaters back in the day. And it felt like a lot of other movies at the time, but looking back, it doesn't anymore. When it comes to Godfather Part 3, yeah, there's some story inconsistencies, and yeah, the casting choice. But it has one of my favorite moments in the entire Godfather trilogy.
Oh crap! You might actually want to like look away for this next part because he does like spoil something pretty major. And trust me, you do want to watch the Godfather trilogy. So like, maybe well, I was gonna say mute it, but like, crap! How are we gonna do this? I don't want you or chat to be spoiled for this.
I'd say I take my headphones off, but then I'm like, wait a minute, I won't be able to hear you if you say.
Okay. Maybe let it run for like 20. Like when I tell you to, let it run for 20 seconds. Then the spoiler should be over.
Like from this point, 20 seconds from here.
25 seconds maybe then.
All right.
But in regards to what he says, like, yeah, you learn to appreciate what came before because, like, when something new, I mean, I don't think this is the case with everyone, but it certainly is a factor. Like, you learn to appreciate the old and what you used to malign when you were younger or whatever, or something from the past because you realize how that movie or that product wasn't trying to cut corners and took a lot more care with its production and was actually trying to convey something that's newer movies just don't try to convey at all. They don't, you know what I mean? Like, you're better with words than me. Can you summarize what you're saying? Because, like,
we're saying that in essence that the qualities of movies has fallen in the several last couple of decades to the point where major movies that we saw with disappointment, like the scale has moved past those movies, what we consider bad. So we have a newfound appreciation for these movies because we said they were bad, but we didn't realize just how bad they could be until we got movies like, The Last Jedi or something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You look back at the complaints people had about things like The Godfather Part 3 and the prequels, that you see what they're complaining about, and you're just like, this, well, a lot of the time it's just incorrect, but like they'd have, like, for example, it's like they'd blow, like, for example, the lucky coat thing that I spoke about. That is a very dumb moment in that movie, Godfather Part 3. It is still a complete nothing in terms of like problems with the movie. You know what I mean? Like, it affects nothing. You just have to, whether it's in there or not, it doesn't change anything. But people would say, like, idiots would be like, this ruins the movie. This because this is what Francis Ford Coppola was going for. It completely takes you out of the experience. And they'll come up with all these reasons why that, that one little thing is like, like the holdover maneuver of the movie or whatever. But you look back on it now and you're watching, and you're just like, who gives a shit? Like, that, it's so small, it doesn't affect anything. Like, It's funny how that changes now. For the most part, I'm seeing on YouTube people are actually talking about the stuff that matters, which is good. Um, Noms, you're breaking my heart. You're going down a path I can't follow because of cool, man. Because of what you like. Because you like the Clone Wars. Stop now, come back. I'm sorry. I just kind of took the ball and ran with that one. Yeah, if anyone shows up for it, I've never even heard of Cameron's recent film until 2 days ago. What recent film?
Recent film.
Neither did I.
don't
What
know.
recent film might that be? I'll watch it. I love James Cameron. James Cameron is a based. Well, I mean, he used to be based. I don't know what he's now, but his real name is Nicholas Kim Coppola. Nicolas Cage is just a stage name. How about that? Is that true? I gotta look up if he's related to Francis Ford.
Also, let me look this up real quick.
Oh, I can't believe this is actually gonna.
Well, I'll be darned. That is true. His real name is Nicholas Kim Coppola.
Okay, any relation to Francis Ford Coppola? I'm gonna freak out if he's actually related to Francis Ford. If he's like his estranged son or some shit. Also, you missed super chat. Yeah, I answered it, Charlie. Thank you, by the way. Fucking Charlie Spur with the fucking fun facts today.
Yeah.
Educating the rest of us just out of the loop on some of these precious facts. Cool call. That's good to see you, man.
He is the nephew of Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh, snap. Fucking
Wow.
Nicolas Cage.
I actually never knew that before.
Nicolas fucking Cage is the nephew of the guy who gave us The Godfather. And now we have Nicolas Cage giving us The Wicker Man and so many other lovely, lovely Nicolas Cage performances. The Coppola family is legendary for entertainment.
Nicolas Cage is no exception.
Wow, fucking, I'm so glad I know that. Thank you, Charlie. God damn, Nick Cage, fucking, goddamn. How about that? And so, he's cousins with Sofia Coppola then? Yeah, I mean, you have to be.
Oh, yeah.
How about that? Indeed, media has really taken a nosedive. We're all reminiscing on the good old days. Yeah, man, the late 90s, early 2000s were the golden years for me, man. As well as some of the 80s. The 80s action boom and stuff was awesome, but like I kind of missed it because I wasn't born yet. So, yeah. Nicholas tricking Cage. What does that mean? Oh, so there's no H in there, by the way. It's saying he is a part of the Coppola family. Yeah, he is. How you doing, Link? You learn something new every day? Fuck yeah, you do. Fuck yeah, you do. That's why AI Core is the best. That's why we're here. That's why we're all here to learn together and laugh together and meme together. That's what we do. Can disregard my comment. Oh, about the recent James. Okay, thank you. Nicolas Cage match. That's funny. Could you imagine if Nick Cage was Don Corleone in the fucking reboot of The Godfather?
Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Well, that's actually. I was referring to Vito Corleone, thinking of Michael, but yeah. By the way, you got to watch The Godfathers. That's not a request. That is an order. That's just you have to. They're some of the best movies ever made, dude. Although the second one, you might. I don't know. The second one. No, you're an adult. You'll get it. The second one actually kind of bored me as a kid. I've always loved the first one, but as an adult, I think the second one might actually be better. Honestly.
I've heard a lot of praise for the first two.
First two are fantastic. Third one's underrated, but as Chris Stuckmann found that out himself in this video. Speaking of which, let's get back on point.
All right.
This is a major spoiler if you've never seen.
Yeah.
Okay. 25 seconds. All right.
All right.
You got to watch or something.
All right. I'll just keep it up, and I'll take because he's not going to show any like visual spoilers.
Yes, he is. That's why I want you to look away, watch your phone, have like a stopwatch going like 25 seconds, and then yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let me get let me get a stopwatch going. All right. I'll be unhearing this for the next 25 seconds.
25 seconds should be enough. All right, ready and go.
Seen the film just as a warning, but at the end of the movie, Pacino's silent scream is one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen in a film. It's so effective, in fact, that I've wanted to make a video about how silence in movies can be used to convey emotion, even more so than really big, grand sound effects or gestures from actors. When you're just doing something completely silent, that emotion comes across so much more. And Godfather 3, I think, has actually...
Okay.
That was 25 seconds?
Yes.
Oh, good. All right. Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
improved a bit with age, and mostly because they just don't make movies at all like this anymore. I know that's a thing people say a lot, and there's a reason for that. And I actually want to make another video entirely just about that topic, why they don't make movies like they used to. And it's probably not for the reasons that you might have expected. Most people tend to think of it in a political way, but it's actually not. And we'll talk about that maybe in another analysis video. Equilibrium was directed by...
This movie's awesome.
I love Equilibrium.
Equilibrium is fantastic. I was like, Christian Bale, the dude who plays Batman's in this, but like he's actually a fucking... He's honestly way more badass in this than he is in the Batman movies. He's actually he's a ruthless cunt in this movie.
Gun kata, man. Gun kata.
Gun kata for the... Gun kata? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's what it's called. That's their martial arts that they do with all their like spinning and flips and stuff. It's completely nonsensical, but I love it because it's just so cool. Like it's over the top.
Gun kata is fucking boss. It is.
It's so freaking anime. Like this could have been an anime movie, and it wouldn't have felt out of place.
It felt like one, didn't it? Like fucking like an anime sci-fi.
Yeah, like you could have like you could imagine something like Ghost in the Shell, but like it's Equilibrium. Like even especially the action scenes where he's like spinning around and like shooting 6 guys at once, and it's like
this movie's almost 20 years old, by the way. I think it came out in 2002. Crazy, but it is. I honestly think this is a fucking like one of the best sci-fi movies ever. It is fantastic. Small synopsis. It's basically humanity, post-apocalyptic, and a futuristic post-apocalyptic humanity.
It's a dystopian, a futuristic dystopian
future. Yeah. Okay. And when humanity, to avoid conflict, has outlawed any emotion, and so they essentially drug their entire populace to not feel any emotion. Anything that is even slightly emotionally stimulant is banned. So there's no art, there's no music, there's none of that. It's just a boring, humanity goes to work, humanity breeds. Even breeding is very efficiently done. And like they don't even love their own spouses. It's just seen as a means of continuing the species. The bond between parents and children is practically non-existent, but where this world has its own like rebellion is the people who are trying to preserve the old humanity. Basically the fact that humanity wasn't like it wasn't perfect, but it was better for being imperfect.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like they collect art and books and like stuff of like culture that like the government will just destroy because they don't want anyone to do anything that's not completely controlled by the government.
Exactly, and it is a very good movie. It's not too long. It's short, self-contained, but it's got a good story, very unique world. Ball busting fucking action scenes, which goddamn, like Coolman said, Gun Kata is it is fantastic. You should watch it. It's really good to watch. It's like I didn't know gun kata was a thing, but it looks awesome.
Yeah, it's like they're
awesome,
using
this movie.
katanas and dual pistols, and it's like
He's like-
they dodge bullets by using mathematical calculations to
Yeah.
to pose their bodies, and it's like
Yeah.
it's totally nuts, and it's something that you would see in an anime.
Yeah, no, it's great. Basically, yeah, and it's got like kung fu and shit in it too. It. I think he's going to mention the Matrix in his video, Chris, because basically like this movie, it did take a lot from the I mean,
It was.
I wouldn't go as far as to say it was a Matrix ripoff, but it certainly took heavy inspiration from how the Matrix did its action.
Yeah, like this
without
was made,
slow mo. I don't think there's any slow mo in Equilibrium.
Yeah, like this was one of those post Matrix movies that was trying to do the over the top like cool kung fu action, while like also having all the cool like sort of dystopian elements. But it's like unlike some of the other like Matrix ripoffs that people will inevitably bring up in the chat, but like unlike those, this one actually did like feel like it was its own thing. It's not a ripoff of the Matrix. It inspired by, I think is the best word for it. That was probably the biggest inspiration for this movie, but like it feels like its own thing. And I think that's why it can stand up now and people still remember it 20 years later.
Oh wow, cool man. Check this out.
What?
Where'd it go? Yelperman. Talia Shire is apparently Francis Ford Coppola's sister. Holy shit.
Who is Talia Shire?
Talia, Adrian from the Rocky movies. Oh, you haven't seen Rocky. You don't know who Talia Shire is. All right. You haven't seen the Rockies and you haven't seen the Godfather, so you wouldn't know who she is. Yeah, she's one of the main characters in the Godfather and in Rocky. She's Rocky's wife, and she's also Michael Corleone. Yeah, and she's also Michael Corleone's sister in the Godfather. So yeah, thanks for the fun facts, guys. The Coppola family is very interesting. She's related to Nicolas Cage. Is she Nicolas Cage's mother? Because that would be the ultimate twist. Imagine if she was Nicolas Cage's mother. Oh my gosh. Crazy. Alright, let me just put my mouse down. Alright, yep, keep going.
Okay, no. She's not Nicolas Cage's mother, but she is his aunt. Yeah. August Floyd Coppola is Nicolas Cage's father. Okay. He is the brother of Francis Ford Coppola.
Wow, Coppola's.
Yeah, man, there's so much you can do looking into the Coppola family. Like, yeah,
there's so many people. Breed out the film industry before long. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, look at Erodion in the chat. He's telling you to get cultured, comment. You got to see Rocky. You got to see The Godfather. You got to watch Fairy Tale. You got to do all this shit. Anyway, let's and I'll watch Batman the Animated Series as payback. How's that? Anyway,
yeah.
All right, keep going.
Kurt Wimmer, who had an obsession with films like this for a while and made some movies like Ultraviolet. But we're going to talk about Equilibrium today. This movie pretty early when it came out.
Yeah, apparently Ultraviolet's pretty bad.
As a ripoff of The Matrix. For that reason, I dismissed the movie almost immediately. Over the years, I've come to appreciate it a lot more, mostly because in one small way, it's been slightly prophetic. No, we're not banning art necessarily. No, it's not a crime to have emotion, but there has been a sort of robotic sense to the way we interact nowadays, mostly through our phones or social media, and certain kinds of art or expression through art has certainly taken a hit in regards to what you necessarily can or can't do in a film. And I'm not even talking about like things you can or can't say or what's considered inappropriate or anything like that. Mostly I'm talking about the way certain movies just don't get made anymore. You have to make films within a certain budget. It has to be between 1 to 5 or 100 million to 300 million. There's no like middle ground anymore. And I don't know why I didn't like it, because it's pretty fucking badass. And a lot of the action sequences are really cool.
Yeah.
Speed Racer, directed by the Wachowskis.
Yeah.
Have you seen Speed Racer? Pause.
Yeah.
The first
All right. What do you pause? Okay, so I haven't seen Speed Racer. I do remember watching the. I honestly thought it was like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon back in the day. It's news to me that it was actually anime.
Yeah, it was anime.
Um,
There was a dub that aired, but like the original cartoon was very cheesy. And
oh, no doubt.
let's just say that the dub for it was of questionable quality.
Okay.
But this was back before like dubbing of anime was a bigger business where people actually put more effort into it. But
Yeah.
like it was a very silly cartoon about racing and stuff. It had like interesting stuff to it, but like the movie, as far as because I'm not going to claim to be an expert of Speed Racer, but like
Hmm.
the movie, the live action movie, it felt like it captured a lot of the spirit of it and a
Okay.
lot of the
Yeah.
goofball stuff. But
Yeah.
so some of the goofball stuff, like the part where they wrestle ninjas, people are like, "Why is that in this?" I'm like, "Yeah, but they fight ninjas in the Speed Racer anime. Like, don't at me with that." But it's like,
I mean, out of context, it just sounds hilarious. But
yeah, no, you
um,
get to see John Goodman fighting ninjas. What more could you want?
oh, that sounds awesome. But
Yeah, I already sold this movie for you.
yeah, I gotta get to it. But look, people are saying I have watched Speed Racer, guys. I watched it a long time ago. But
There
again, I
he
thought
goes.
it was on
There
the
goes Speed
same.
Racing.
It was it was on the same like animation block as like the Hanna Barbera cartoons, like Wacky Races, fucking Flintstones, things like that. And then you had Speed Racer. So my brain naturally just clicked the two together. Like I thought this was Speed Racer. I didn't really know it was an anime until I think watching this video. I think when I watched Chris, I was like, Speed Racer was anime. Okay, I know that the movie wasn't really well received when it first came out, but apparently it's warm. People have warmed up to it.
Yeah, it's gotten a bit of a cult status.
Master and Commander is still the best cult following ever. Just saying. Wait, NOMZ is the cultured one now, and Cool Man is the swine. Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
Now you
Yeah.
gotta say it. Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
Mm. Sorry, I just wait, there's something going on with the neighbors. It's pretty loud. I hope you guys can't hear it. I've heard Speed Racer is one of the few like good manga anime adaptations from Hollywood. I mean, it's very few. But like to their credit, the Wachowskis are very much fans of anime, so
Yeah, and
and you
I'm
can
not
tell
going.
in their movies. So like, it makes sense that they would make one of the good ones.
Yeah, and I'm not going to claim to know how much of a good adaptation it is because I am not an expert of Speed Racer, and I'd only watched the cartoon as a kid a bit.
Yeah,
But like the movie is entertaining, and I feel like a lot of people sort of missed the point. Like, you know, when some people watch a comedy but they take everything way too seriously, or like a
yeah.
satire, and it's like when Nostalgia Critic watched the last action movie Hero, and
Oh,
he got really pissed off at a lot of the silly stuff in it, and he's like,
uh,
why is this so unrealistic, even though the whole movie is a satire of like 80s action movies, so the whole thing is meant to be ridiculous. Like the Jack Slater is like fighting ninjas in his house, and he's got a daughter who's just like an unrealistically talented like martial artist kung fu fighter, and it's like
yeah,
it's meant to be ridiculous because it's parodying a lot of silly stuff from action movies. And it's
yeah,
like, and he went in taking it super seriously
mm,
and just missed the point.
yeah.
And it's like, and so I feel like that's what a lot of people went into Speed Racer, like, because that was still at a time before anime really hit a not just mainstream, but like
Hit
greater
its
cultural
stride.
acceptance. Yeah, it was after 2010 really that like a lot of anime got really big in the West,
Hmm.
like to
Hmm.
where like it's far more accepted now than
Yeah,
it was 20 years ago, like in
yeah, yeah,
general culture. So
yeah.
I feel like it came a little bit too early. If it came like maybe 4 or 5 years later, I feel like it
Hmm.
would have been better received.
Okay, all right. Um, yeah, I just want to answer Mystic Space. You haven't seen Speed Racer? I haven't seen the movie. I've watched the cartoon. I watched the anime. Excuse me. I watched it when I was very, very young, so I remember very, very little. Okay. Let's keep going, Mr. Cool Man.
All right.
Speed Racer, the anime, is actually the first anime I ever saw. It was playing on Cartoon Network in the early 90s, and I remember just thinking it was really funny, but I didn't have a concept of what anime
Yeah, that's pretty
was.
much how I
just
saw
thought
it
was like a
too.
cartoon. I didn't understand
Definitely.
where it came from or how it got to America or any of that kind of stuff. I just was like, it's a cartoon on Cartoon Network, and people talk really fast. That's fun. And when I saw the film Speed Racer, I don't think I was ready for just how faithful it actually is to the anime. In some ways, it's the film's greatest fault because it can be a little incomprehensible if you've never seen the anime, and it can seem very strange. Editing choices can seem very weird. But if you've seen the anime and understand what the Wachowskis were going for, the film gets better for you. And over the years, it's improved significantly for me, especially an amazing fight scene between Racer X and these ninjas. The Wachowskis clearly have an eye for kung fu, and this sequence is fucking awesome. It's
That's
one
Matthew
of the best
Fox,
fight
by
scenes
the
in a
way.
PG movie.
Yep. Yep.
I
He's
remember-
he's Jack from Lost.
Yeah, I remember. The reason I know that is because it was another. It was in another Chris Stuckmann video. It was about his problem with action movies, and he talks about how there was a fight between Matthew Fox and this other guy in a movie called what was it called? Alex Cross. That's it. Yeah. And he reckons Alex Cross is one of the worst fight scenes ever because the shaky cam is just off the charts. But this movie here showed that Matthew Fox is perfectly capable of doing kung fu with competent directors. So yeah, that's interesting. That's how I knew it was Matthew Fox. So yeah, the more you know about watching Chris Stuckmann, people, which is why I would recommend you check out some of his stuff. Anyway, oh come on, he's not. Come on.
Yeah. So what he's saying about this Speed Racer being incomprehensible, I feel like if you grew up watching anime, like for kids like me and even like you watching stuff like Dragon Ball, like when I watched a bunch of anime on like Toonami and stuff growing up, I feel like I jived with this movie better than like a lot of adults who didn't have much exposure to anime.
Right.
So when this is a very anime movie, it didn't hit that chord that it did with like people like me when I watched it, because even not being a super big Speed Racer fan, like it very much has the energy and feel of an anime.
Right.
So it's got a lot of that, the drama, the dramatic stuff, the like crazy action, the ludicrous like scenarios. They're doing all these crazy over the top driving, and then they're getting into kung fu fights with ninjas. It's like this is stuff that if you've watched, like I've watched a number of anime that are way more absurd than this. So when I like this doesn't even register on the weirdness scale for me, and it didn't even at the time when it came out, because I'd seen anime that was wackadoodle, like stuff that you would like watch like one episode and you were like, okay, this is too wacky for me. And then it's like I watched Bobo Bobo, and I'm like, let me tell you, Bobo is way weirder than anything in this movie.
Well, what's weird to me as like an outsider looking in is like this is a manga / anime / movie called Speed Racer, and yet you have kung fu with ninjas. That sounds weird but awesome at the same time. It's like, is this a racing manga or is this a fighting manga or is it both? I don't know. Anyway, all right, let's
Yeah.
Okay.
And nobody ever talks about it. It's really damn good.
Oh, nice punch.
Look at that extended shot.
Yeah.
More than any film on this list, my opinion of this one has changed the most. For whatever reason, when I first saw Men in Black 3.
Yeah.
Didn't
you tell me?
Yeah,
This is why I wanted you to wait to watch it, because
yeah, you and I had a conversation involving Men in Black 3 like not too long ago.
Yeah, and I was like, oh wait, so Stuckmann also hated it or thought lesser of it, and I think you told me you had a very similar experience. Like you used to dislike it, but then the film.
No. I always liked Men in Black 3.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. Well, you're in good company, it would seem. I always liked it too. I always liked Men in Black 3.
Yeah, like
Um,
it was something that I was honestly going into it thinking it would be bad. Like it came out way later than the other movies, and movies like that are rarely good. Like when they come out like at least a decade after the last one, it just
mhm.
they're usually not that good. But this one felt
Mm.
really good. And freaking Josh Brolin. This was the first movie I saw Josh Brolin in, and
Yeah.
him playing a younger Tommy Lee Jones
Mm.
was so perfect. Like
He does look like him, eh?
he looks like a young Tommy Lee Jones in the way he acts. Like
Mm.
it fit, like he just worked so well.
Yeah. No, no, I always enjoyed that. I mean, I've only seen Men in Black 3 once, but I remember like laughing out loud during it. Like, I thought it was funny and I thought it was very entertaining. So, like,
Oh, but
yeah, no,
yeah, I
yeah.
think what got me was at the end,
Mm.
like the very end of the movie where uh Kay meets a young Jay
Hmm.
like as a child, and it's like oh my gosh, like yeah, but yeah, I always liked Men in Black 3. Like I've always liked it. It especially after and Men in Black 2 was not good. Like it feels like it's like okay, you know, we accept a couple of things from that movie, but we're just kind of moving on. We're not going to dwell on it. We're just going
Right.
to focus on Kay and Jay's like relationship. Even though
Mm.
Tommy Lee Jones is only in it for a couple of scenes, like
Mm.
it's mostly young version of him.
Yeah, no. If are we talking about Men in Black 2 or Men in Black 3? Sorry.
Three.
Okay, yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, he's not in it much at all. It's mainly just Will Smith and Josh Brolin. I liked it. I always thought it was good. But I've never been a really big Men in Black fan. I hot take. And granted, I haven't seen the movie in a long time, but I always didn't really think too highly of the first Men in Black. It just didn't really do it for me. I
Heresy! Heresy! Burn the
But like,
heretic!
I just haven't really been a Men in Black fan in general, though. It's just that's all. So I watched it. Like I always thought the first one was just okay. I thought the second one was. I can't even remember the second one honestly, so I'll just leave it at that. Third one I do distinctly remember, and I do think it was pretty funny. So take that for what it is. Anyway, let's keep going with Stuckmann's bid.
I really didn't like it at all. I don't know why, because I rewatched it last year and it was really good. It was way better than two, which even two has a great moment. Two has that incredible post office beatboxing scene. It's the best scene in the whole movie. But three was very different from the other two in that Tommy Lee Jones is in the movie for a while and Josh Brolin gets to do his best impersonation of Tommy Lee Jones throughout the whole film. But it also has a really good twist at the end, which I won't ruin if you haven't seen it. I don't know why I disliked the film so much when I first saw it. I was rewatching the movie last.
Josh Brolin is such a good actor.
He
Like
is.
that dude can just mold into a role. Like he almost he kind of has that Johnny Depp chameleon ability where the actor disappears and he's just the character.
Oh my god, I forgot International existed.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
no.
Yeah, that is hands down the worst
remember
MIB.
remember I had to, and I really don't like Tessa Thompson. She's like the biggest woke darling of Hollywood, or was. I don't know if that's changed, but it probably hasn't. um she's in everything woke. She's Valkyrie in Ragnarok. She's that chick in fucking, who's also plays behind Chris Hemsworth, the chick in Men in Black 3 or Men in Black International, and they have like her upstaging Chris Hemsworth, like taking charge or whatever. Like I don't know, it just looked like a complete
Yeah.
dumpster fire to me. Um,
Yeah, it was.
and you know what? Remember I told you I had to watch Ghostbusters 2016's trailer on loop every fucking day at work?
Yeah.
Guess what else Sony had playing as a trailer?
MIB International.
Yes, and I fucking hate it. I was like, this movie can burn, and then its ashes can get pissed on, and then its fucking pissed on ashes can be vented into space and be some other fucking alien species fucking problem. I want nothing to do with it. I wasn't even a Men in Black fan, as you know, but like I saw it and I was just like, this just wow. Like I feel sorry for the Men in Black fans because I can't stand looking at this. Anyway,
Oh,
I can't believe
yeah.
International was a fucking thing. Um, right. Oh, I love this comment. You worked for Sony. No, no, I didn't work for Sony. I worked selling televisions of Sony's and laptops and Sony. I think I spoke about this on the last podcast. Sony had this thing where you can only advertise. For some reason, you couldn't advertise any of Sony's games on their televisions, which I thought was really stupid. But my manager told me that Sony's film department and movie department they were completely separate entities and they didn't really get along with each other. So that's why Sony televisions only showed Sony movies or trailers for them. So that's why I had to watch Ghostbusters 2016's trailer and fucking Men in Black International's trailer on loop, which was a shame. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going because this actually gets pretty spicy.
You're thinking like
towards the end.
This is fine, Chris. What are you fucking pissed off about? Okay, here's a big one. Two of my all-time favorite movies to this day. They will always be so important to me. Are Spider-Man 1 and 2.
Hey!
I adore them. I love them so much. Spider-Man 3 was a big disappointment for me, and all of my issues that I have with it in my review that I mentioned still exist. But just like that old friend that you haven't seen in a long time and you kind of had a little spat with them back in the day, my heart has softened to Spider-Man 3.
Heretic.
Yeah.
It's fine. Pause.
It's over, Grace.
Oh.
I think
Okay, so his take on Spider-Man 3 is actually, granted, I warmed up to Spider-Man 3. Again, I still don't think it's I still think it's easily the worst of the three, and I still don't particularly think it's good. But I have warmed up to aspects of it. That said, I kind of always accepted Spider-Man 3 despite its quality, and I've always found it endlessly rewatchable and enjoyable, the parts that are enjoyable. Yeah, so it's funny because like what he's going to describe is essentially what has always been my experience with Spider-Man 3, which I thought was interesting. Although with more, a bit more research in recent months, especially regarding Venom, I've absolutely warmed up to Spider-Man 3 more. And I've actually come to see a few more issues. Like a lot of people seem to have their criticisms of Spider-Man 3 a little backwards when it comes to
Sandman and Venom. Yeah.
Yeah. People seem to champion Sandman over Venom. And while I do agree that Topher Grace wasn't, even though Topher Grace did his best, and certainly got parts of Eddie Brock right, I still think he was miscast. That said, the origins for Venom and how they've integrated him into this movie were actually done quite well with the limited time that they had to do so.
Well,
except for the fact that the fucking asteroid crashes right in front of Peter.
Yeah, it was like, especially considering the fact that the movie had him forced in at the last minute. Like the fact that they had to hastily rewrite the movie to fit him in. Like it's shocking how well they did to adapt it. And it's like, and it's funny because after you watched Spider-Man the Animated Series, like you suddenly saw what I had been saying all this time about look, now that you see how where the Venom storyline came from, now you can see where it went right and where it went wrong in the Spider-Man 3 and why I've always liked that.
Absolutely.
In Spider-Man 3.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So even though I think Sandman is mostly well done, but he was rushed too. Like his whole transformation. I do think one of the really stupid parts about Sandman was the whole locket with his daughter. Like the daughter carries a locket of herself, and I'm like, you realize you could have fixed that by just having a picture of him and his daughter, right? That way it's special to both of them instead of her just carrying a weird locket of herself. Because that's something a lot of people tend to point out, and they're right to do so. That said, I don't really have anything against Sandman in Spider-Man 3. I just don't think he needs to be there. I think they should have saved him for a later movie. And they should have just done Venom, Harry, and Peter. That's it. That would have made the movie much better. People seem to think I hate Sandman because of that. I was like, no, you got it backwards. I don't hate Sandman. I just think they should have taken his story and waited to a later movie. That's it. Anyway, you want to? We've got 90 people watching us. Thanks, guys. It's good to.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. Probably dropped down to like 85 now after I said that. Anyway.
Oh no, he's
88. There we go.
Leave, get out.
Anyway, so let me tell you, Spider-Man 3, Sandman is the best villain transformation ever. Okay, so what I meant by rushed is that, like, he kind of just, like, you know what I mean? Like, they kind of just...
His whole story is quickly...
Yeah, well, not the part where he becomes Sandman, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, when he, like, wakes up in the sand. But, like, the part before that was very rushed, where he, like, just stumbles upon this, like, testing site, and, yeah, so... And I think the action scenes in Spider-Man 3 are some of the best in the series. You can really tell, even though I think Spider-Man 1 is the best, it definitely has the weakest action scenes of all three. Spider-Man 2, they got a lot better, and then Spider-Man 3, I think Sam Raimi really perfected his style with Spider-Man 3. Like, just this part where Peter rushes to save Gwen Stacy is one of the best falling sequences ever, where he's, like, quickly and acrobatically, like, if that's even a word, like falling through the debris, dodging debris, and then he barely saves it at the last second. Like, that was awesome. You can't. I mean, you hate Spider-Man 3, and you can't even deny that, can you?
Well, no, some of the action is good. Like,
it's really good.
The biggest problems I have is with the writing, which which a lot of people have pointed out a lot of those issues already. But and I've said this before, and I've always said this ever since I first saw Spider-Man 3 back when it came out, that there are individual scenes that are good. The reason why people like the Sandman scene is because it is effectively shot. There is very good cinematography. You know, it's a very well-made scene, but then you have to remember right before that, the scientists were like, hey, one of the alarms just got tripped. Nah, it'll be fine. They just moved on. It's like, you guys...
They would have been better off just not doing that. Just not having that in there.
Yes! Yeah, it's just cut it out. Like, why would you have them notice it and then be stupid when you could have just had him jump in as it was, like, starting up, and then they just didn't notice it?
Well, maybe they could have noticed it while it was happening, and then they could have said, no, shut it off. But when they, like, went to observe what happened, they would have noticed his body. Like, yeah, it was like, maybe it was just a fluke, or maybe he ran off, or something, because he was part of the sand by that point. I don't know. Something to that effect. Because he says, like, hey, I think verbatim the quote is, hey, there's a change in the silicon mass. And he's like,
probably a bird.
Oh, it's probably a bird. We'll fire it up. It'll fly away when we fire it up. And it's like, well, I'm pretty sure Sandman was like 100 kilograms. Like, that's a big fucking bird if they landed, And he even said there's a change in the mass, which means you can see the mass being changed. Like, he would see that the digits would be on the screen. So, like...
yeah, if there's a 200-pound bird that landed in it...
Fucking emu landed from Australia. They're invading the US now.
Yeah. Oh, there's a change in the silicon mass. It's an emu! Fire it up! Kill it!
Sand moo. Anyway. Right. But yeah, you guys...
alternate universe where the Sandman is just an emu, so he's an emu with the sand powers fighting Spider-Man.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. Hang on, user 2. Have I seen any of High Top's Spider-Man videos? No, I have seen him around though. I don't know.
He's made videos praising Spider-Man 1 and 2. I know, I've watched them.
Hasn't he made one about? I thought he saw one that was praising Spider-Man 3 as well. He
I
called it, I think
don't
the almost. I think he's the call it the almost perfect finale. I could be wrong.
I don't remember. I haven't watched if his movie if he made one on or his video if he made one on Spider-Man 3. I've watched his ones on Spider-Man 1 and 2 though.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Maybe
I
I'll
know
check him out.
that was the first time when I saw like he pointed out a lot of the practical effects behind Doc Ock's tentacles in Spider-Man 2.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And it's
yeah.
like, yeah, I legitimately didn't know that. Like I didn't know that they had a lot of like practical effects regarding the tentacles and it wasn't just CGI.
Yeah. Also, fun fact about Spider-Man 2, guys, and it actually took me a while to notice this, but like when I was rewatching the Doc Ock's like laboratory experiment, like when I was a kid, I used to think that like the fact that Doc Ock had like water under his, when he makes the second experiment in the sunken church, like I thought it was like, oh wow, that's convenient that the water can stop the mini sun, like as like a contingency. If you actually look at the experiment scene in Spider-Man 2, where he's demonstrating it to everyone, he actually has the bottom of the base of his containment field has like a tub of water in it, so he can drown the experiment if it gets too big. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's a nice little detail. So yeah, like he could have but the reason, of course, he doesn't shut down the experiment is because he doesn't want to admit he failed, because that's his weakness. He's like an arrogant, full of himself genius who just was trying to do good, but he followed his obsession way too far, and he didn't consider the possibility. I mean, he considered the possibility that he failed. He just didn't want to accept it. Anyway,
Yeah.
So yeah, but I thought it was a really nice little detail. That's a perfect example of show don't tell when you yeah. And it shows that like at the end it's not really a convenient because or that it's not a cop out because he actually did plan for it with the water in the beginning. Anyway.
Yeah. And what he did at the end of the movie was just that on a much bigger
Larger
scale.
Yeah, exactly. It's like my question earlier. Which question earlier?
There have been a lot of questions.
I'm sorry, Joel. Did I miss a super chat? Or maybe this is it. You said Spider-Man 3 has the best action scenes. Some of the action is good. Coolman229, I will make you say all the action is good. Okay. I like the encounter with Spider-Man and Sandman with the armored car. That was cool. Anyway. All right. Let's keep going with Stuckmann's video.
All right.
The reason I like Spider-Man 3 more than I used to is because it feels so different from every superhero film that they make nowadays. So many of the superhero
I love the
films of
sequence
past,
where he's falling
like
and
decade
dodging
are
debris.
all interconnected and part of the same universe and have the same feel, and Spider-Man 3 just doesn't. It is like a rebel made it. Sam Raimi is one of my favorite directors. I think he's a brilliant genius, and there are sequences in Spider-Man 3 that are insanely good. There are sequences.
Yeah. There's where the we just talk about how awesome the Bruce Campbell French restaurant cameo is. Romance, I am French. It's like, anyway, he's like, the Bruce Campbell. Can you believe he was actually meant to be? I don't know how that would have worked, honestly. Like Bruce Campbell as Mysterio, I still have my reservations about that. It sounds cool if he's like just like this comic like side villain, but I wouldn't want him to be the main villain of a movie.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know. I wish Stuckmann would stop playing these clips in such long, in such long durations, because it's gonna get claimed. You should know that, especially if it's Sony, which means we're gonna get claimed, which is ugh.
Yeah.
I'll never understand how Cool Man hates Spider-Man 3. I'll tell you why I like it despite itself, and why I don't think it's very good, is because it's rushed as hell, because it's not Sam Raimi's fault, it's Sony's fault. One, it's rushed as hell, and it forces a whole bunch of contrived nonsense to happen to get the plot along, and two, it like actively assassinates Peter's character when Mary Jane is like, he's like an oblivious kind of jerk to Mary Jane when there's no way that Peter would be. Not to mention he kisses like, for some reason they have him kiss like Gwen Stacy in the same manner he had his first kiss with MJ, which I thought was bullshit. I was like, why would he do that? If he was under the influence of the symbiote, I could maybe understand him doing that, but not when the problem for me is that he wasn't under the influence of the symbiote. That was just Peter being Peter, and I was like, that's not Peter. What are you talking about?
Yeah, he
that's what really kind of, if they didn't have that in the movie, like I would say, let's say they didn't assassinate Peter's character. I would say Spider-Man 3 is possible in terms of a movie. Like, it's possible. But because they actively assassinate his character, I got to say, like I like it despite itself, but it's not good, unfortunately. I can't call it good. I can call parts of it good, very good even, but on the whole, it's not very good. And once more, Sam Raimi himself, he knows it. He's accepted it, and we understand why Spider-Man 3 is the way it is. And it's a damn shame, but it's not a reflection of Sam Raimi. Hey, look what we got. We got a Jedi Bunny in the chat.
Hello.
I do miss the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man days, simple times. Yes, indeed. I believe we all do. Those were the days. Those are the days. Thanks for checking out the stream. I appreciate it. Do you think... Cool, man. Do you want to take this? Like, do you think Toby and Andrew will be in No Way Home?
It's the worst kept secret in Hollywood.
It's like, who doesn't think they're gonna be in it in this one? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still dreading it, but especially after those, my skin's crawling just thinking about the leaks. Assuming they're correct, which some of them are correct, some of them are very questionable. Could you just imagine, like, the film opening up with, like, the way it said it would, with, like, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin just fucking being bullshitted into the MCU? Apparently that's because of Loki. That's the fucking excuse they're going with.
Yeah. Yo, if you want full context, you're going to have to watch the Loki show on Disney+.
Yeah, that's not happening. Fuck that.
Get your Disney Plus subscription to know what the hell is going on in this movie.
Yes. I honestly don't even care about No Way Home. Like, it honestly feels like I'm, going to check out another MCU movie is like ingesting poison for me. Like, I honestly think No Way Home is going to be my last venture into the MCU. The rest, I don't care. Like, I love Thor. I still love Guardians of the Galaxy. Depending on how No Way Home is, I still might like Doctor Strange, but I do like him at the moment. They haven't ruined him yet. But yeah, like I just don't think I could do it anymore, guys. I really don't.
I don't want it. I never have.
The point of Spider-Man 3 is Peter being the villain. Yeah, the point of Spider-Man 3 is Peter becomes the villain when the symbiote, like, amplifies his dark side tendencies, but the way they went about it was way too, like, and again, I attribute it to being rushed because they couldn't properly develop Peter having a dark side. They just and he certainly, look, you saw what he went through to get Mary Jane in the fucking first two movies. Like, he was killing himself in Spider-Man 2 by just, like, putting his duty first because he really wanted to be with MJ, and it's like he's with her, and all of a sudden he's like he's not interested in paying attention to her and things like that. I was like, no, I can't buy that. Anyway,
yeah.
Hey guys, Anomalink, good to see you. Hope you're well. I'm doing great, thank you. Likewise, hope you're well. Hope America's doing good. Yeah, and Cool Man's doing well. You're doing well, right? Aren't you, Cool Man?
Yeah.
Alrighty, we're all doing good. It's good shit. Alrighty. Oh, Clanker Boy. It's been a while since I've seen you in here.
Clanker.
Lost interest in the MCU now. Just invested in Thor and Guardians. That's pretty much that's my attitude as well, dude. Like, I don't. Yeah. E-Man. Mad lad. The MCU is temporary, but Doom is eternal. Fuck yeah. Mad lad. I love it.
Rip and tear until it's done.
Rip and tear. NOMZ, watch Spectacular Spider-Man for a great symbiote storyline. Dude, I watched fucking the 1994 animated series of Spider-Man, and I also had a great Venom storyline, symbiote storyline, excuse me. But should I watch? I want to.
I definitely recommend it.
I'll tell you what happened. I watched the first episode of Spectacular Spider-Man, and I was kind of like, I don't know about this. And then I kind of stopped watching after the first episode. And I immediately went back to the 94 version, and that version just agreed with me more. Sue me. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you. But I was considering getting back into Spectacular Spider-Man, and then I think you told me it got cancelled. And I was like, do I really want to watch two seasons of a... It's like with Daredevil. Like, I got to watch Daredevil, the Netflix series. A friend of mine, he's been really asking me to watch it. And and I want to. I've seen clips of it, and it looks good. But I know that that was canceled too. And I'm like, do I really want to put all that time and effort into a movie? It's kind of like I'm very cautious with series now because of Game of Thrones. Because you put all that time and effort in, and it could end up just being a dud at the very end, and it just kills your investment. You're just like, why did I spend all that time getting invested in a show, which takes longer to get invested into than movies, for instance, because movies are one and done, and so shows take years, and you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But I
still recommend.
Yes, yeah, it's still really good. Like the big problem with it is that like it didn't get to complete its storylines because it just got abruptly canceled because of Disney.
Yeah.
And but like I would still say like you can watch it, and I think it's a really good adaptation of Spider-Man. It's different from some of the other ones.
Yeah.
But like it's different in a good way. Like because it's like it keeps a lot of what makes Spider-Man, but it just doesn't with a different spin on it. Like the guy behind it was Greg Weisman. Did you ever watch Gargoyles? I don't know if you...
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Greg Weisman was the guy like behind that. But like Greg Weisman is usually known as being pretty darn good, and yeah, he had a lot of like plans to do stuff with Spectacular Spider-Man, and I feel so bad for him because like people would ask him questions like because Gwen Stacy is in the show as a major character, and like people were asking for years after it got canceled, were you actually going to kill her off, or was she going to live in this version? And he dodged the question for years because he was always hoping to get back to make the show. But then eventually he was just like, I'm not ever going to make my next season. So then he was just like, no, I wasn't going to kill her off. And I was just like, I felt so bad. I was just like, oh, he just lost all hope of the show continuing. So he's spoiling what would have been like one of the biggest things in it. I was just like, oh, poor Greg Weisman. Disney, how could you be so heartless?
Yeah. Okay, well, I might get back into it. We'll see what happens. I'm not against it. It's just I don't know. I got a lot of stuff to get through. The question,
and especially if you were already invested in the '94 show, like they're very different. They take different approaches to the stories because Greg Weisman is a very much a more elaborate plot guy. He likes to have a series of plots. And the Spider-Man '94 was very comic booky, where it was like a bunch of smaller stories.
That's why I liked it. Actually, it's one of the
it's very easy to digest and very easy to get into.
Yeah, like I watch it with my nephew from time to time, the '94 version, and it's great. He doesn't really. I think he's still too young to understand what's going on. He's only 3, but he's getting better with language. He understands a bit of it, but like because I can fully digest it. Like I think I still get massive enjoyment and from the '94 version, but also the stories that they do tell are actually really good, and they're only told within like a couple of episodes. There's one in particular that really melts the heart. Is the one where I don't know if I should spoil it. It's the one where Peter, I think he reveals his identity to someone, but she's not going. Let's put it this way: she's not going to live to tell about it. If that makes sense, it's that episode. I don't know. Do you remember that episode or no?
Not exactly. I actually haven't watched that cartoon since the '90s when it was.
It's I'd recommend anyone check it out. It's really fun. And that was one of my. It's actually a twist at the end. I don't want to. I don't want to spoil that. It's a good episode. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
But you'll definitely see a lot of where Sam Raimi got his inspirations for the Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man trilogy, in those movies. Like, the amount of thought, like having watched the cartoon and having watched Spider-Man 2, for instance, the amount of thought Sam Raimi put into how Doctor Octopus. Like, I don't know. Like, for example, like where he talks about like the microfibers of the tentacles feeding into the cerebellum, and the fact that the cerebellum is what coordinates movement in the brain. Like, just knowing that stuff. Like, there's a lot of good sci-fi in Spider-Man 2. And in the cartoon for the 94 animated series, Doc Ock only talks about how he became Doc Ock. You don't actually get to see it. But the way he describes it in the animated series is pretty much what Sam Raimi did in Spider-Man 2. I don't know if it happens differently in the comics or if it's even shown in the comics, but like, yeah, you can definitely tell, like, yeah, this is where Spider-Man 1 and 2 got its inspirations from, the animated series. And Spider-Man 3 as well, especially with the Venom stuff, got its inspirations from the animated series as well, which is why I like the Venom stuff in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, like
most of it anyway.
Yeah, like I remember in the trailers that they showed like a quick shot of the church scene where he's ripping the suit off. Like, they showed a quick shot of that, and I vividly remember that scene from the animated show. Yeah, like to this day. So when I first saw that trailer, I was hyped. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Venom. Like, that they're doing that stuff from the show. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I imagine that would have gotten you, because again, I hadn't watched the cartoon at that point when that trailer came out, so that must have got you really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the movie came out. Fortunately.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was already. I didn't need any more excitement for that movie. I was really Spider-Man 3, even though I've grown to enjoy it, and I've always rewatched it, and I've always liked watching it mostly. It was one of my first very distinct memories of a disappointment in a movie theater, unfortunately. And then there was Die Hard 5, which really disappointed me, and then there was Iron Man. I wasn't angry with Spider-Man 3. I was just disappointed. Yeah. Iron Man 3 and Die Hard 5 made me really fucking angry. Like, I hated those movies when they came out. Iron Man 3 in particular. Iron Man 3, it's one of the worst fucking movies I've ever seen in my life. The question I'm talking about is one on the Discord with the emus. Now imagine a sand emu for a battle mount. Oh, that's what you're talking about. McQueen.
She's McQueen.
The only reason I'm seeing No Way Home is because I'm seeing it for free.
That is valid.
Yeah. I should probably go down and Spider-Man the Animated Series, Season 5 finale with crying, something meeting Uncle Ben was so heart-wrenching. I've actually only watched up to the Season 4 finale, so I don't know much about that. I don't know if that's a spoiler. Damn you. But yeah, there's definitely, yeah, the episode I'm talking about I think was in Season 3. Oh hey, is it Jedi Bunny's seen Gargoyles? Cool, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen. It's on the list. It's all going on the list. How do I shot a web? What?
How do I shot web?
How do I shot web? Oh my god, it's Alfred Molina. You guys, I don't get a lot of these memes. I apologize. I don't. Anyway, do you want to let's keep going because we're getting to the kind of the finale of Chris's video in a bit.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
In Spider-Man 3 that are insanely bad, and I think for that reason, I kind of love it. It's like Temple of Doom, where it's that weird oddball of the franchise. And although I certainly love Temple of Doom a lot more than Spider-Man 3. And all of my issues with the film remain, I've come to appreciate it so much more over the years. It's easily the worst of the three, and there's a lot of really dumb moments, and you can tell how Sony tried to force Raimi to do a lot of things he did not want to do, and it was very rushed in that way. But the moments that are great in Spider-Man 3 really are great. I love Spidey fighting Sandman with the trains.
Agreed. Oh, crap. Pause.
Oh,
pause. Yeah, he's. I don't
He
know why
didn't
he's
even.
playing. I don't know why he's doing so much of this. Like he's showing so much unadulterated footage. Even I mean, especially the sound is probably going to be the worst. It's like Danny Elfman's score will get picked up like that, but
Yeah,
the visuals are a bit more flexible.
But he didn't even change the aspect ratio
That
to.
too, yeah. Like I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in my videos when I show footage, I always change the aspect ratio. This is why. Um. Anyway, yeah. Keep going. Nice kick. I told you, yeah, the action's great in this. The choreography is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, this part.
It's
Despite
yeah.
the CGI being kind of iffy, I love Peter fleeing from the new Goblin.
I think it's a bit heavy on the CGI in certain instances, but it's still all watchable and digestible.
Well, and and for 2007, the CGI looks pretty decent. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't look like distractingly bad.
Mm.
Because
Yeah, no, I certainly think it's, like I said, perfectly acceptable. There are some shots like the falling shots where, especially when Peter is unmasked, which I think is a good choice for the movie. By the way, is like because a lot of this is instead of you having like a masked Spider-Man, instead of having like a masked Spider-Man fighting a masked Harry Osborn or a masked Green Goblin 2.0, the story is much more personal, and that's why you see here it's Peter versus Harry. You know what I mean? Like just like later you also see Peter versus even though he puts his mask back on it as Spider-Man, it's also Peter versus Eddie later on, even though it's Spider-Man versus Venom. So I like that as a design choice for the movie. I mean, by that point everyone knows each other anyway, so the masks are kind of pointless. And here as well, like you could have had a Spider-Man versus Harry fights, and if I got to write Spider-Man 3, I probably would have put that in there. But the climactic fight between the two of them would have just been Peter versus Harry. And yeah, when you have those like falling shot scenes with Peter and Harry, it's the CGI on the faces can be a little iffy, but it's barely noticeable in the grand scheme of things. Like I certainly don't choose to fixate on it. So yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, keep going. Damn, man, Toby was really getting into it.
And even though Raimi didn't want to do Venom, the scenes with Venom and Spidey fighting are pretty fucking intense.
They are.
Whenever it's just Venom.
And pause. Also like I would use a Spider-Man 3 as a prime example of why fans are the best critics. And I plan on making a video about why fans are the best critics eventually too. The reason I say that is because there is a moment, and he kind of just glossed over it. There's a moment in Spider-Man 3 where Venom is sneaking up on Peter, and Peter can't sense him with Spider Sense. It's subtle. It's the first time Peter doesn't do it in the trilogy, I think. I could be wrong. But like when something's able to sneak up on him. So I'm pretty sure to be fair, he doesn't sense Harry sneaking up on him either when Harry like takes him into the air at the start of the movie. But in Spider-Man lore and everything, Spider Sense doesn't work on Venom. Like he can't sense Venom. And that's something comic readers and fans of the animated series would have noticed, but your everyday movie watcher wouldn't have noticed. People could say, "Oh, but it's they didn't explain it in the movie." It's like, yeah, because that's because they used show don't tell, and it's not exactly like they can just take Venom aside and explain why Spider Sense doesn't work on him. They'll just bring the movie to a halt. You'd probably have to have Peter be like, why is my Spidey, like in the animated series, for instance, Spider-Man would say something like, why isn't my Spidey sense working on this guy? Or something to that effect. But you wouldn't do that in this movie because, that's not, Peter hasn't really been established as a character who talks to himself like that. Oh, he does talk to himself a little bit, like when he just beats Sandman, and he's emptying out his boots. And it's like, where do these guys come from? So there's a little bit of that in there, but I think, for instance, like that's a nuance that was designed for comic readers and the animated series fans to pick up on, and it's there's no trouble explaining it to just regular old movie watchers. But yeah, like I said, like fans are most well acquainted with the source material, so and this with any franchise, they would be the best critics as opposed to just people passerbys who are trying to watch it and pick it apart, or obsessed fanboys or fangirls who let their bias cloud their judgment. Like that's the difference between a fan and a fanboy. A fan can accept the good and notice the problems, and be well acquainted with the source material. The fanboys and that they're well acquainted and they're in love with it, but they're clouded by bias. They don't like to admit any flaws, etc., etc. Hopefully, sorry about the tangent. Just wanted to point that out because, again, I do plan on making that video a bit later. Maybe next year. We'll see how we go.
So yeah, Spider-Man 3. It's not great, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it anymore. Okay, so this last one is what Sid from Toy Story would say is the big one. Let's talk about the Star Wars prequels. Specifically,
hey, okay, here we go.
A film that not too many people have talked about over the years.
Wait, why is it? It's not. It's freezing for some reason, dude. Pause. Oh. And I just want to address Skid's comment here. It happened in Spider-Man 2 and they fought inside the building, the latter half of the bank scene fight. I think he's talking about yeah, I attribute that to Peter's focus being on Aunt May and trying to save her when Doc Ock grabs him. So yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's that. But trying to have him communicate that is something that works a lot better with an internal dialogue. Like if he was thinking something like, "Why couldn't I sense this guy?" or something. But like it trying to have him just straight up say that. I mean, I think it might have been worth it to bite the bullet and have him say that. Like I couldn't even sense this guy or something like that. Even if
we're talking about Venom here, right?
Yes, yeah. Having Peter say that, like a line in the movie of like I couldn't even sense this guy was there. Like even if it's a little on the nose, like. I feel like it may have been like just to make sure that anyone who didn't have any greater context of Spider-Man and Venom and how he interacts with his powers uniquely, like it might have been helpful even if people like you and me who have better context would find it a little like it might be a little like in your face, but it might be like worth it. If only.
I mean, well, that's the thing. Like, if it's plot relevant, I'd say yeah. But if it's just like a little detail, like I think I'm perfectly fine with having like details that are just meant for like, book readers or whatever to pick up on. That kind of rewards them for their investment in that, as opposed to like spelling everything out. I mean, like personally, I would have been fine with it either way, but as someone who knows about it, I'm just like, I appreciate this more now. I think it's better and it works better for me now because I didn't need it explained to me. Yeah, I don't know. Either or. Hey, Link fan, how you doing? Thanks for the. Did you intend to send that blank, or I appreciate it, but if you want to like say something, by all means, I'll highlight it. That was a solid tangent. Oh, thank you. Will Chris admit the prequels are good? Oh, well, it's a bit more complicated than that. Here we go, boys. Yep. I won't be satisfied until I have Stuckmann. Well, let's tone it back, shall we? Yeah, let's keep going.
Less yapping, more whacking.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this movie way too fucking much. As I talk about it right now, I hate myself. But I'd like to talk about the prequels because something has happened over the past couple years. When I saw Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, you guys know that it severely impacted the way I viewed the sequel trilogy. I had hope after The Last Jedi, and I was like, yeah, some of this movie did not work for me, but I'm still on board. Rise of Skywalker did nothing to keep me on board. And so I went home from the theater that day, and I decided I'm going to rewatch the prequels. And I watched all of them. And I remember thinking, yeah, I slaughtered them like animals and all that. It's all still there. There's wooden acting. You're so
Okay,
beautiful.
pause.
Only because I'm so in love. Yeah, I know.
Okay, pause. So, like Rick Wally's gone on Rick. Like Rick Wally's done a good job of deconstructing. Like my Stuckman just kind of doesn't get like for someone who's such a am I using the word right? Connoisseur of film? Is that the
a self-proclaimed connoisseur of film. Like he makes sure to announce himself as that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if I could quote him saying that, but like he's very much an aspiring director and a student of film and someone who appreciates, movies, whether they're retro movies or new movies or whatever. He seems to be very out of time. I mean, he of all people should know what George Lucas was going for with the acting and the directing in the prequels, the way it's shot and the way the characters portray emotion, things like that. It's very much inspired by retro 1930s filmmaking. The acting style is very similar, and as it has been for all the Star Wars movies, the acting style is similar. The way he shoots it is very similar. It's very similar to the Saturday matinee serials he watched, but it's also very similar to like documentary style filmmaking, where he kind of just lets things happen in front of the camera and the frames. I'm no expert. I'm just saying this is what George Lucas was going for, and he explains it very well in his commentaries of the movies, which I highly recommend everyone check out. He's even quoted. He says like people were saying like the acting isn't believable and it's too melodramatic and things like that, and he's like, it's deliberately done that way because that's the way the style was. He's even quoted. I can't quote him verbatim, unfortunately, but there is a very, I want to say prolific quote, if I'm using the word right, of George Lucas saying, basically people were criticizing the prequels based on what they thought was one of the weaknesses of the movies, when in fact they were simply pointing out what he designed the movie to be, essentially. It's like basically hating an action film for having too much action. You know what I mean? Or hating like saying there's too much action in an action film, or saying there's too much romance in a romance film. Like, they just kind of completely missed the point with it. Yeah, so, and it is kind of, it's, as a fan of Chris's, it's very frustrating to hear him talk this way, because, again, I watched his prequel videos, and I bought those videos hook, line, and sinker because I didn't take the time to do my research. You know what I mean? I went off everything this guy said once upon a time. Then I went Cool Man. Then I met Cool Man, and I just ignored everything Cool Man says. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But no, for real. Like, I just, you educate yourself, you do your own research, you come to your own conclusion, you meet people, you become friends with them, they help give you counter arguments, you kind of bounce ideas off them and perspectives, and you help formulate your own opinion that way. So, point I'm trying to get at, I'm sorry, I need more coffee, is, Chris, like, he's basically going to say, like, he's going to appreciate the movies even more, but he still maintains that the problems he pointed out are still there, but he hasn't. What's a shame is that, like, he's saying, like, people say that people are only liking the prequels because the sequels suck. That is false, but there are cases of that happening, and my worry is that people are going to think that's the majority of cases because that's what's happened to Chris here. Even though I like what he's saying for the most part, people weren't just liking the prequels because the sequels were bad. People actually went and rewatched them, did their own research, watched my videos, for instance, and they've come to another conclusion. And there's overwhelming evidence to support the contradicting perspective of, the prequels being good as opposed to the prequels being bad. And I would just wish, instead of Chris just being like, yeah, I see what you guys mean, they're not as bad as I used to think, even though they still got their problems, blah, blah, blah. And he's going to put up that safety net we like to talk about.
Yeah.
You'll see, which is kind of a shame because Chris talks about in this video, the point of it is being brave and not letting, the fear of what other people say stopping you from having your own perspective on the internet and backtracking. but he still has that safety net that always pisses me off that people
Yeah,
like to put up.
I was when he first brought up the prequels, I had a feeling like this is exactly what he was going to do. Like he was going to be saying they're not as bad, but I know they're not great movies. I just don't cancel me for saying that they're good, like because I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they're not as bad. I had a feeling that's where it was going to go.
Yeah, that's where it was going as. I mean, I do respect some of the things he says. Like he says that like they have cohesion to them and things like that. But again, like it's not hard. Like, like I wish people would stop jumping to conclusions as to why people feel a certain way about the prequels now in retrospect. As you know, it's because the sequels are bad. End of story. No, it's not it. Like if you do your research, you'll see that's not the case. Nerdonymous did his research with the whole saved in the edit narrative, and he tore it the fuck apart because he did his research. You know, that's another example. Rick Worley fucking tore apart the whole George Lucas doesn't know how to film movies narrative because he did his research. You know, he shows that every shot had intention behind it. Every shot had film inspiration behind it from retro movies that people who watch, you know, the mainstream Marvel jargon, they haven't even heard of these movies. And George Lucas has a very lengthy, you know, like film encyclopedia in his head because he's been a long time lover of the, you know, watching movies, and he's watched movies from like the 40s and 30s and the 20s, and I haven't heard of any of these movies, but he grew up on them, which is where the inspirations came from. Which is why we can't identify where the inspirations come from when we watch Star Wars, because it's kind of like in, you know, modern times. Anyway, sorry, just bit of a tangent. I know. I'm sorry. I don't want to feel like we're poisoning the well here. You know what I mean? Before people have had a chance to see it. So let's just play it and we'll see.
Yeah, I think we're always going to be balanced when it comes to Chris Stuckmann because I really hate him and you really like him.
Yeah.
So we're like, if we can come to the middle and meet on him, I think we're making a pretty fair point.
Yeah, I'm trying to be fair here. Yeah. Again, I do really like this video of his, but there are just some parts that make me kind of just go, like, you know, he didn't need to say that, or I wish he did this a little bit. I wish he was a little bit bolder when he said this, and I wish he didn't. Again, the biggest problem I have with the video is how he still uses like that weird safety net, and it wouldn't really bother me as much, except the fact this video is all about how it's okay to have your opinions changed. It's kind of the point of the video. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going.
But at its core, an artist unencumbered by a studio made those movies.
Yes.
And all three of them have a story that tracks, and it is one singular vision from beginning to end.
Yes.
And for that reason, I've come to appreciate them much more. Now, that doesn't mean that they're great, you know. But I've liked
it's a safety net.
Yeah, it was just like it's that consistent. Oh yeah, I've come to appreciate them, but
yes, we've seen it time and time again, haven't we? But I do respect what he's saying, like in the fact that he's like at least pointing this out. Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
That's a beautiful frame that I just froze on.
Come on. The Hate Man 229. Anyway.
Yep.
I still really like that movie. Attack of the Clones is still my least favorite for sure. But Phantom Menace in particular is one that got slightly better for me. It's kind of annoying to have to constantly defend yourself for liking a movie. You know, as I sit here, I wish I could just say,
how do you think that we've been feeling?
Yeah, well, that, and you can. I'm like, he's worried that his audience is going to rip a new one. It's like, dude, you can. That's the point we've been trying to make. You just fucking put it out there. You'll be fine. You don't have to defend yourself. Talk about what fucking you found awesome about the Phantom Menace. Unencumbered, like, just you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the whole. It's like the fact that you have to defend yourself. It's like, yeah, we've been having to do that because we've had people for years who would just like lose their nuts on you if you said you like the prequels. I've unironically had friendships damaged and destroyed because people
Wow.
were angry that I liked the prequels.
Wow.
Like
Really?
that's how bad some people are when it comes to the prequels.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Like,
like there are some people who would unironically rather not be your friend than acknowledge that there's anything good about the prequels.
yeah, no, that's like that's pretty extreme.
Yeah, yeah.
Damage French, but
yeah, and
uh,
I mean, it happened years ago. Like
okay.
this was like this was back when there was still a high prequel hate, and I think it was before the Last Jedi.
Hmm.
So
Oh yeah.
before the crash happened with the Star Wars fandom, but
Right.
like I've had friendships get damaged because of that. Like yeah, I've had to defend myself against people, Chris. Welcome to. I feel like Morpheus. Welcome to the real world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's but like here's the thing. He should. My point is that he shouldn't feel this way. He should. Nobody should have to feel this way.
No.
And this is why he feels like he has to put up that safety net. Like, dude, this is all about. Again, he put up the safety net, but he's like, it's kind. It's sad that I have to keep defending myself for saying I like a certain movie. But I'm like, if you, uh, like you're you know what I mean? Like, what was I gonna say? Fucking the hang on. Cool Cole saying you guys are kind of toxic. Not gonna lie.
Why am I toxic?
I don't think I'm being toxic. I'm a
No,
fan
no,
of Chris's.
no. I'm quoting DSP. Dark
Oh,
Side
is that what
Fell.
he's quoting?
No. I don't know, but I was just saying because that was something that Phil said. Because Phil's like an absolutely awful human being, and there's one
Oh,
of his most famous quotes is him just screaming, "Why am I toxic?"
oh, I see. No, we're not being toxic. Or at least I'm not trying to be. I'm just telling. I'm just saying that like Chris's whole point is he's talking about why he shouldn't need to feel like he has to defend himself for liking a video, not video, a
Oh
movie.
yeah. Oh no,
But at the same
I agree.
But at the same time, I agree with that too. But at the same time, he's putting up these like safety nets for.
Yeah.
Oh wait, he is talking about GSP.
Oh, he is.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like yeah, and that's the thing because he is scared. Ultimately, like he's willing to renege on some of his previous points, but with the
Yeah.
prequels, like there's such a weird cultural thing around it for
Yeah.
people to just say you have to say it's bad. So, so when it comes to him like actually coming to realize that there's things to appreciate about him,
Yeah.
he's still having to put up that I know they're bad, but it's just
Yeah.
it's like okay, there's a difference between like something that you come to appreciate and stuff that you appreciate despite its flaws.
Mm.
But I because like Spider-Man 3, like there's things that you can
Yeah.
appreciate it despite a lot of the flaws in it.
Yeah.
But like
Exactly.
but it feels like he's more willing to say positive things about Spider-Man 3 than the prequels, purely because of the narrative around them.
Well, I mean, let's continue to watch. I forget. I forget this. I don't remember everything in this segment of his video, but this part really kind of scratched a nerve with me because I was just like, it's kind of contradictive of like what he just said about like. I mean, granted, he's free to feel however he feels, but he felt the need to defend himself, and he's talking about he's like he shouldn't have to defend himself, and I'm like, well, you shouldn't. That's kind of that's the point, right? His audience will not attack him for slightly complimenting the prequels in 2021. Laugh my ass off, man. These people are so out of touch. You're talking about us? Or you're talking about Chris?
No, him. His audience would not attack him.
No,
And
his
yeah,
audience adores him. So
Yeah.
no, and especially I mean, you can say whatever you want about a movie. Just make a good point, and you'll be fine.
yeah,
And I swear, if he did his research on George Lucas and the prequels, he wouldn't feel the need to have a safety net. In fact, he could do a lot of good by actually putting a lot of that research and stuff out there for people to see.
yeah. He's
I
a
mean,
big mainstream channel with millions
Yeah.
of subs.
Yeah, I got a channel, but my reach isn't exactly that long. It's a short to medium reach I have. If he fucking put out like, for example, Nerdonimus's video. I'm not saying he has to make a video that long, but like if you put out a video that had the facts that Nerdonymous' video had, he'd reach a lot of people, and a lot of people would kind of have their eyes open a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jedi Bunny. I used to watch Stuckmann, but I got kind of a pretentious vibe from him several years back, and haven't watched since. He has solid knowledge in film and cinema, but his choices can seem to be clouded by his ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree to that to some extent. He certainly has his pretentious moments that can rub you the wrong way. It certainly rubbed me the wrong way a couple times. Biggest disagreement I ever had with him obviously was The Last Jedi, and it kind of opened my eyes and red pilled me because I was like kind of confused. I was like, yeah, all these problems with the prequels, but then you have TLJ is like near flawless. Like I'm not saying he can't think the way he thinks. I'm just saying he's inconsistent.
Yeah.
With how he can feel however the fuck he wants to feel, but.
Yeah, it's why if someone says I hate the prequels because they have a bunch of CGI, and then they say I hate the sequels because they have a bunch of CGI, I was like, I disagree with what you're saying, but at least you're consistent.
And if he did research, he'd know that the fucking prequels have lots of practical effects in them too.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're talking about. I'm pretty toxic, bro. I still want heads to roll. No heads rolling, Charlie.
Bad. Spray. Bad. Like no murder.
Someone
no
catch
murder
me up with what's been going on. Charlie, educate our friend here, would you? Yeah, he gave TLJ an A-, which really confused the hell out of me. And when I watched the Last Jedi for the first time, and much to my shame, the second time, I was really confused about it because again, back then I was a huge Stuckmann, I don't want to say simp because I wasn't really simping for the guy, but I kind of let his perspective become my perspective on everything. Like another example would be the Amazing Spider-Man. Granted, I always kind of disliked that movie, but when I watched his video on it, I also hated a whole bunch of other things I didn't even think of. But it also jived well with my perspective. Then I watched The Amazing Spider-Man in 2012. I watched that for the first time in years, unencumbered. And now we spoke about this last podcast as well. I was texting Cool Man. I was like, I'm giving it another try. And I was like, it just feels like a fucking discount Raimi origin story for Spider-Man. I'm probably going to hate it. Yeah, you got emo Peter Parker here and everything with Andrew Garfield. And then halfway through the movie, I'm like, dude, I feel like I had this movie so wrong. I'm loving it. And he's like, I know.
Yeah, I was trying to tell him, I'm like, Amazing Spider-Man, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's not that bad. It's
all right.
Yeah. And, he was telling me, it was like that story of what he said, like he didn't like it, and then he gave it another shot.
Yeah, I did. Unencumbered. I completely just put Chris's video out of my head, put my prior bias and perspective out of my head, and just watched it. With eyes that analyze movies, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I really enjoyed it. And I stand by that. Not without its problems, obviously. But, I realized what held me back from enjoying and appreciating, for all the right reasons, The Amazing Spider-Man, was because I was very salty about the fact that there was a reboot from the Raimi origin story that I fell in love with growing up. And it just felt like a discount version of that. But it actually had a lot of different things going for it. It had the people say, it had organic webs. The organic webs is the least of it. I couldn't care less. But I mean, there are reasons why organic webs are kind of good because they kind of nerf Spider-Man a little bit, which is instead you can't just spam the whole goddamn time. But yeah, it was a far more realistic portrayal. It was less comic booky, less campy, had a darker tone to it. Don't get me wrong, I love the Raimi movies and it has its place, but this origin story version of Spider-Man is faithful. While being faithful, also has its place for being different as well. That's Amazing Spider-Man is an example of a faithful adaptation that's done differently from what came before it. Where was I going with this? But yeah, it also had things like Dennis Leary as Captain Stacy. It actually explored Dr. Connors more, which was interesting, and he became the Lizard. And it also took a lot of inspiration from the 90s animated Spider-Man. The first episode is the the Dr. Connors lizard episode. I'm like, oh, this is where they got the plot from. Yeah. Spammer, mods, do your thing.
Oh,
Do your thing, mods.
yeah.
We have got spammers in the midst. But yeah, hopefully that's hopefully that's like clears up my take on the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Would I do a podcast or video on the Hobbit films? I wouldn't be against it. Yeah, maybe. We'll see where we go.
Possibly.
Possibly. I was disappointed when Stuckmann reviewed TLJ and was favorable about TLJ. He overlooked issues, and TLJ he grilled. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was my biggest issue with him too. But anyway, now he's changing his perspective on a few things, and the prequels being one of them, sort of. And yeah, let's hear the rest of what he has to say.
That yeah, I kind of like the Phantom Menace more than I used
Wait,
to. Without
pause.
having
Pause. There's something I wanted to pick up. The lizard discovering Peter's identity was yeah, I agree. That was one of the parts I was like, what the like in Amazing Spider-Man where he like finds Peter's name on the camera. I was like, God damn it. I thought that was pretty dumb as well, dude. Like I said, like that movie has problems. I still think it's pretty good on the whole though. I think it has a lot going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going, sorry.
Say anything else. That's not how the internet works. People get fucking mad about shit on here, man. I'll admit that a lot of this is due to nostalgia. When it comes to the Phantom Menace, I was 11 years old when this movie came out. And basically from the release of the special editions in 97 to 99, my friends and I were obsessed with this shit. Episode 1 Racer on N64.
Oh, take me back.
Star Wars toy.
Oh,
Episode 1 Racer was the tits.
I actually got a physical Switch cartridge with it. It was a 2-pack. It has Republic Commando and Episode 1 Pod Racer.
Oh wow, that sounds awesome, dude! Like, fucking, and Rogue Squadron, fucking. I mean, look, granted, it's not really prequel applicable, but goddamn, Rogue Squadron, and even the Phantom Menace computer game that came out on PC. The controls for it were janky as fuck, but it looked good for a 2000 PC game on like.
Yeah.
On CD-ROM, like far out, like it's ancient, but goddamn, was it that's I got so much nostalgia for that old Phantom Menace computer game, fighting the destroyer droids and Obi-Wan, and you could use like thermal detonators with Obi-Wan, and like blasters, and the lightsaber. My favorite obviously was to use the lightsaber. That was good. I still didn't get to play Clone Wars on GameCube, and I didn't get to play Revenge of the Sith on Xbox, which was a shame. But freaking goddamn, back then Nintendo 64 had some of the best Star Wars games on it. Angel Rin, how you doing? Hi fellas, work was long, brain is mush. I think I have a cold or sinus infection or something.
No.
That's a shame. Hope you get well, Charlie. Ever the comforter. Get well soon, Angel. And no, it's not Corona Chan. Okay, well, thank God. Stay well, Angel. Stay well. Anyway, but yeah, nostalgic. Phantom Menace releasing and the culture surrounding it, especially as a kid, that was a special time to be alive. Honestly, some of my fondest memories of playing Racer with my friends and talking about Star Wars at school and things like that. It was really cool.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, let's keep going.
Star Wars Pogs. Was it Pepsi One cans that had every character? And if you found like the golden Yoda, you won some shit. Man, I was just obsessed with this. I wanted this movie to be great, but it wasn't. But it doesn't matter. I just don't really care anymore about any of that. I just like that George Lucas got to make the movie he wanted to make. Because nowadays, what do we talk about so much? Disney and how they control their filmmakers. Look at what happened to Lord and Miller with Solo, or Gareth Edwards on Rogue One.
Colin
This happens
Trevorrow.
all the time. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody who got fucking Colin Trevorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. I was
Most
waiting for
recently,
that
the
because
Game of Thrones guys are not going to make their Star Wars movie. Josh Trank and his Boba Fett thing. It's crazy. We talk so much shit about that, and yet we still talk shit about the prequels because they're not great. I know that, but George Lucas got to make the movies he wanted to make. And if you ever read the book,
I feel like, because the way he's talking, he sounds like he's being more fond, and I feel like, because he's saying, "Oh, I don't care that they're bad." And I'm like, I really don't think that's the case. I really do think that he thinks they're better than what he's saying, but he can't say it because that's just taboo.
Yeah,
because how many times has he mentioned that?
Yeah, I just wish I could just like send Chris an email and just be like, dude, Slate video, mostly good stuff. If you think it's nice to know you've grown appreciation for things like Godfather 3, Spider-Man 3, blah blah blah. I shared a lot of your opinions on that, but honestly, dude, if you I'll send him some check out this article, check out this documentary, check out this commentary, check out this quote from Lucas, check out this video by Rick, even though he's not very nice to you. There's an overwhelming abundance of evidence that will help you, will kind of correct your perspective on a lot of things you're missing the point for regarding the movies, and just a lot of stuff you're getting completely wrong. I'm having a hard time. I haven't watched his Phantom Menace review in a while, but the amount of stuff he gets wrong in that. This is a guy who, again, I like Chris, but didn't even know. I don't know if the 180-degree rule is right. I'm a layman when it comes to filmmaking. I don't pretend to be a filmmaking expert. Chris is the guy who's aspiring to be a filmmaker, and he didn't know what the 180-degree rule was. Rick Worley had to point it out to him. So, you know what I mean? I was like, dude, just take a step back. Rather than, backtrack on the prequels, sort of, and just say you've grown to appreciate them, to get with the times. Actually, do some research, and you'll come to a more organic and assertive conclusion, and you won't care about putting up any safety nets because you'll know. You'll have the facts, and you can put the facts out there for other people. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Anthony Batera. I got to see the Godfather 3. I didn't even know there was a director's cut. I'll watch that. Also, the deleted scenes for the first Godfather film, they're better than... Even the deleted scenes are better than fucking regular scenes in what we consider to be good movies nowadays. Godfather is fucking incredible. I would highly suggest everyone watches the Godfather 1 and 2. 2 has some good deleted scenes. One of my favorites is when Michael Corleone he meets, I think it's Sonny's daughter has a fiance, and he kind of interviews him about how you're gonna support your wife and whatnot, and he's got an arts degree, and I'm like, how are you gonna support your wife on fine arts? And you just see how imposing and intimidating Michael Corleone is. And it's actually the only scene where he smiles, and apparently Francis Ford Coppola took it out because he didn't want Michael to smile in that scene. He wanted him to, the only time for him to smile would be with his brother Fredo. That's what I heard. Which is kind of a shame because it was a good scene, but I understand what he was going for, because Godfather Part 2 isn't really it isn't exactly an uplifting movie. It's meant to be very it's meant to get progressively more depressing. You'll see. You watch it. He's so close to redemption, I can almost taste it. Well, he's all right. Ben Forms. Hey, how you doing? What is the 180-degree rule? It's basically.
Do you want me?
Your brain's. I think your brain might be fresher than mine.
Yeah, so basically the 180-degree rule is, and this is a rule in both filmmaking and theater, because I learned about this when I did theater in high school. Okay. So you have the camera. I'm just talking about filmmaking. You have the camera, and you make sure that everything is visible in a clear way from this angle. So the way you'll block the scenes, the way you have all the actors placed and moved, is done so that you can see things things from this angle. So when talking about moving in directions, if you have a character moving in one direction, like say they're walking down a hallway from right to left, and then you show them enter through a door, you show them like from inside the room, you show the door on the right side. So because in your mind you're moving from left to right or right to left, so you enter through the right side. So the motion on picture is consistent. And like the example that Rick Worley used is a guy talking about this, basically saying if he's getting in a car and he's going to work and he's heading from left to right, if you see him later driving a car from right to left the other way, then you're like, okay, so he's going the opposite direction without even explicitly stating that, because the whole thing is you have a 180 degree line of all of the action happens on that side. So you film everything and you have everything set up and recorded and stuff in a way that's visually clear to the audience. That's probably a little bit of an elaborate explanation of it.
What he said. Yeah. Do not let characters switch sides will be confusing or disorienting. Yeah. I mean, I imagine there are some exceptions, but they're just that. They're exceptions.
A good exception. Well, I can even point to a good exception related to this when he talks about the pod racing scene where he's like, "Why does everything go from right to left, right to left, right to left?" Yeah, he's like, but you remember when Anakin flies up and he's sort of disoriented in the sky, the camera is like it's weird, like up close to the pod racer, and it's like it's kind of pointed up in one angle, so it kind of you don't have a good orientation. When it's like, because in that scene, it's, showing you the disorientation before things come into focus. It's like, that is an exception that fits the feeling of the scene.
Agreed. Yeah. George knows does move the camera around a lot in that. He's going to go on to praise the pod race scene. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, but George Lucas, he moved the camera around a lot in that sequence. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, it's like because and that's why it's seen so positively, because it's filmed in such a way that the action is so smooth that you don't even realize it. That's why it took him years, like Chris Stuckmann, took him years to try to come up with something about that scene that was bad. And it's like even then, it's like, George Lucas is following proper filmmaking sort of filmography rules. Yeah. It's like I mean, he made the action clear. It's like what he was saying in that video of why is a lot of this filmed on one side? It's showing progression through the race from one side. Yeah. Exactly. So it's like, but that's because George Lucas knows how to film racing. He's really into that sort of thing. He did that in a previous movie. So he knew how to keep it, the action going without confusing the audience. Because you even as a kid, when you watch that scene, I know I never felt confused about the direction they were going. And anytime it was a little confusing, it was on purpose. Like when Anakin is spinning around because his cable got disconnected or he's flying through the air. Those are the parts that are purposefully disorientating for a little bit in order to fit the scene. It's like Lucas knows the rules, and like a lot of people will tell you, the only time you are allowed to break the rules is when you really, really understand them and you know when to break them.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good way to put it as well. Very good way to put it. Geared Giratina. First of all, I love Giratina. Excellent Pokemon design. I loved Pokemon Platinum version where you got to go to like Giratina's world. That was pretty cool. Secondly, thank you for the super chat. I also love the prequels as well, but what I've come to understand is with the acting direction from Lucas, we're pretty much arguing about an aesthetics. Some may like the older style and some won't. Yeah, no, that's true, pretty much. I've had a friend, his name's, I'm pretty sure I've had Kel on here before on this channel. Me and him debate about that all the time. He basically says, if I can remember his perspective, he's basically like he gets it, he just doesn't agree with it. If that makes kind of sense, like he doesn't agree with the style.
Well, and I think George Lucas has even said something along the same lines where he knows there's going to be a number of people who just don't jive with this style of acting, but like this was purposeful. Like, I mean, there's a lot that he really did when he was like trying to sort of frame the prequels as happening before the OT, where like even the style of the acting, the sets, like even as far as Anakin's arm, like his robot like hand not having a synthetic skin like Luke's does.
Yeah.
Where a lot of it feels older, and it feels like it moved back several decades, like it did within the universe. And that includes the acting style and some of the filming choices he made, which may not jive with everyone, but like there is a purpose to all of this. That it's not just a random lol bad acting.
Yeah. No, exactly. NOMZ, do you hate Chris? I don't think he's a bad guy, and compared to other reviewers, he's a lot more chill. No, actually, I actually like Chris a lot. I think
he is the Chris Stuckmann lover of this stream. Like, I think we've been pretty clear. Like, I'm the one who really doesn't like him, and NOMZ does like him.
Yeah. That's you know, we're literally like the yin and yang of this stream, aren't we?
Yes.
Anyway, all right, let's get towards the end. We're almost
we're almost done with it.
Yeah.
George Lucas, A Life. It's really good, and it follows him basically from childhood to the release of the Disney films. George Lucas was very much a rebel. He's really more of an indie filmmaker in mentality, despite creating two of the biggest and possibly the most well-known franchises of all time with Star Wars and Indiana Jones. His mentality was always more like THX 1138. That's sort of where he feels more comfortable, I guess, according to that book anyway, and his interviews that he's done. So I like that guy got to make the prequels exactly how they are. Do I like everything about them? Absolutely not. But over the years, and especially after the sequel trilogy, my appreciation for them has increased. Just the idea of a pod racer is a genius idea. It's extremely well executed. And it does have an amazing lightsaber fight with one of the best things that John Williams has ever done, the Duel of the Fates. Despite the fact that everybody likes to talk shit about Phantom Menace, and I definitely have, it's got its moments. It does. It has its moments. And I think that a lot of people don't really want to talk about that because you spend so long talking shit about something. The second you back down, it makes you look weak, and people don't like looking weak. But I don't know, man. If I directed the pod race sequence, I'd be pretty fucking proud of that.
Okay, pause.
Yeah.
That's not really what you said in your Phantom Menace review, my dude. So if you said your reviews still mean everything you say, I mean, I don't really exactly know.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah, but I mean, look.
Yeah, because he's talking about how well the pod race scene was made, but in his review, he specifically calls it badly made and talks about how like it's poorly filmed because everything is filmed from, or most of it is filmed like from one side. Like not understanding the 180-degree rule.
Yeah, there's no. Yeah, exactly. That's what we were putting out before. But also, I mean, like that's my biggest problem with this video. He's basically, you know, he's also saying like,
well, yeah, he's saying like, yeah, I basically am saying
sorry,
the complete opposite.
I was Tourette'ing. Excuse me. I was, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Just kind of collecting myself. Here's another thing that, and it really just kind of hit me now, is another big problem with this video is the fact that Chris says, you know, you talk about backtracking for fear of, you know, looking weak, but he himself has said his reviews, he still means everything he says in them. So again, he's being kind of, I understand his intentions with this video, but what he's saying, he's kind of contradicting his own, like, his own thesis with this video.
What's the truth? Like, do they hold up, or is this your perspective now? Do you think that the pod racing scene is well made, or was it poorly filmed?
Yeah, and we're not gonna freaking hold your toes over the fire or anything about it. It's just, like you and yourself saying that, like, it would have been a lot smoother for this video if you said, I got a lot of things wrong in my older reviews. It would have gone down much smoother. But you say, like, all the stuff you mentioned, you still have a problem with. I mean, the fact that you're praising the pod race sequence, which I can appreciate, because it is genius. Again, it's just completely contradicting what you're trying to say.
Yeah, like Jason Weisman is saying he's trying to have his cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I'll highlight that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it feels like he's halfway there to what Jeremy Johns was saying. Like, yeah,
Jeremy Johns really walked back. Like, he got it completely right when he made his video about the idea of changing opinions on the internet, and when he said people were scared of, he even said, like, people were scared of doing it, but they want to say it, but they don't because they're afraid. And he's like, have fun with that. Life's too short for that. I'll backtrack.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like, and it's what Jeremy Johns was 100% right. And it's like, I feel like Chris Stuckmann saying it, you feel weak if you change your perspective. Like, it's not even that. It's not about being weak. It's just that, you're like Chris Stuckmann himself is scared of possible backlash of changing.
He's saying
his
it's projecting.
Mind. Yeah.
I think he does have a point, though, because I think a lot of people do feel that way. Like, Jeremy Johns, he didn't say the word scared, but I'm pretty sure that's more or less what he was implying.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I think he has a point, but yeah, he is projecting, but he's also not doing what he says you should do, which is, you can backtrack and you can, opinions can't, that's the point of this video, is it not? Opinions can change. Don't feel bad about it. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, it feels like he's doing this with the prequels more because he knows that would be more likely to get him backlash. And I don't particularly blame him for being scared, because when you've been on that side for so long, excuse me, it's like he must know that he's garnered a fandom of people who would agree with his previous takes that he had. So he thinks if he walks those backs, that those fans are going to be mad at him. But really, I think we talked about this before, his fans would still probably, go with what he says, because they just love him regardless and will probably agree with him whatever he says. But that's really the thing, is he himself is scared of a possible backlash. Which, like, that's an interesting conversation to have when someone like him, who's so big, such a big channel, so mainstream, he's scared of a reaction from fans of saying he doesn't hate the prequels anymore.
I don't think there's anything to be scared of. I think most people will applaud that.
Yeah, yeah. Like if he had said this back in 2015. Like, I'm scared of what people would say, I would 100% be like, yeah, you'd probably be eaten alive by everyone for saying that. I know, because we've experienced that in the past.
We have, yeah.
But it's like, but now, like, after Rise of Skywalker especially, it's like, we've had the Disney trilogy, and it's like, people have seen what happens when a corporation tried to make movies, and, like, they completely botched this entire new trilogy. And then they look back at the prequels and they're like, wow, we said these were bad, but we really didn't know what a bad Star Wars movie was. And that's what's happening to him. Like, his perspective has changed because what he said was bad. Like, he saw movies that were way worse than anything in the prequels. And he realizes this. He obviously realizes this now, especially talking about how he looked at things after Rise of Skywalker. So he knows this, but he's too scared to fully commit. And I don't particularly blame him, because changing your stance that you've had for, he's had that for what, almost a decade, like solidly at this point, like, yeah, like that's a heavy commitment to make, to change your complete perspective on something, especially as a big channel.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Geared Giratina, thanks for the super chat. I think it was just a jarring switch for some. I think he's referring to the 1930s style that George implemented for Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
here's the thing.
Absolutely.
I don't think it was a switch. The thing, because he says he did it for the original trilogy too. I think it was the way he used it for like the romance and stuff. Kind of went over a lot of people's heads because it didn't really, even though there was romance in the classic, 1970s, 1980s original trilogy, it wasn't as heavily poured on as it was in I'm talking about the romance. Like Attack of the Clones is a romance movie. It is at its core, it's a romance, and it's it's a romance front and center, but it's, the backdrop is this this galactic conflict that's spiraling out of control. Yeah. But I certainly have a few issues with how Attack of the Clones does its romance, but I understand and praise most of it because I understand what George Lucas was going for, and not to mention when you look at who the characters are, it makes sense why they would interact this way. Anakin growing up the way he did, and him being trained by the Jedi and being separated from having romantic feelings for anyone, and then he's thrown back into this uncomfortable situation with this woman he's like dreamed about for like 10 years, and Padme, who's also had very limited romantic experience growing up and has always been in politics and a position of monarchy and responsibility her whole life. She's been kind of separated from the part of herself that makes her human. And, I'm pretty sure Natalie Portman even says in one of the commentaries, like, she's kind of, when she becomes a senator and when she gets tossed back with Anakin, she's able to, like, she's able to reindulge in some of her desires and, feel a bit more like a person again instead of a leader, if that makes sense. Yeah. Anyway. I've been lurking, my man NOMZ. How are you, nerdy? It's good to see you. Sorry, chat, I gotta catch up. Yeah, Jedi Bunny and nerdy. They're getting acquainted. It's cool. It's a small world, people.
Yeah, it's a small world after all.
Blemished Halo. Not Jeremy John's level of confession, but it's a step towards a good direction stuff. Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, I appreciate most of this video, and I do agree with a lot of the changing opinions he's had. I was really happy you mentioned Godfather 3 and Spider-Man 3 for that matter. Yeah.
Do you want me to continue playing?
I'm trying to, yeah. I'm just trying to catch up with chat and what they were talking about, but I'm kind of out of context here with it. Anyway, yeah, you guys talk amongst yourselves and we'll just keep going. I was like, where did this start?
And even though there's some really bad choices in Phantom Menace, there's some great shit too. And you can kind of see, like, if some things were shifted around significantly, it would be a much better film. But there's a reason why the Clone Wars show has become so popular, and it's because an entire generation of children are now adults, and the prequels were their Star Wars. Just like Phantom Menace was so important to me when I was 11, that was huge for kids even younger. So I'm actually very curious to see what kids now, who first probably saw the sequel trilogy, do for the sequel trilogy on the internet 20 years from now.
Okay. Yeah, this keeps getting brought up, but that's a 100% false equivalence.
Yeah, the difference between the Disney, and I've said this many times, people are saying, like, because I do Revenge of the Prequels, what's to stop someone from doing Revenge of the Sequels? And the biggest the biggest Achilles heel that would have is would be the fact that Disney stole, in a sense, Star Wars from George. I mean, yeah, he sold it, but they treated him like dirt. They reneged on a gentleman's agreement that he made with who was supposed to be his friend and Bob Iger. And they completely fucking tore his lore and his characters to shreds, and without any. They had every right to do so, but there are so many ethical problems with that, and they were a company appropriating someone else's work. Hope I'm using these words correctly. They were a company appropriating someone else's work and just fucking it up. Whereas George Lucas, for better or for worse, he had every right to make his movies his way. Every right and all the ethics in him, doing stuff with the prequels and maybe changing one or two things from the original trilogy in terms of recontextualization. Can't really think of any off the top of my head, but whatever. He had every right, and it was far more ethical for him to make those changes and decisions than a company like Disney, which is a soulless corporate entity that's just trying to, out to make money. You can say George. I mean, I forget who said this, but it made a lot of sense. It's like George made money from his movies. Disney make those movies to make money. That's the biggest difference.
Yeah.
So if they tried, go.
Well, and even aside from the facts of creator versus corporation, like the sequel movies are just straight up bad.
Yeah.
Like if people can now see what I was knowing what was going to happen even after The Force Awakens is like these movies have no cohesion at all.
They don't.
The Force Awakens doesn't connect to The Last Jedi, which doesn't connect to The Rise of Skywalker, and this is supposed to be a trilogy that doesn't act as a trilogy. When you look at the prequels, regardless of any flaws that people have with them, no matter how many issues that people will point out, they are a coherent story that have a beginning, a middle, and an end with an understandable progression for the characters, particularly Anakin. You understand how he started off, how he ended up falling to the dark side and became Darth Vader. Like you have you have a full picture of the fall of the Republic. Like these no matter what people will say about them, most people will admit, like Chris Stuckmann admitted earlier, like the prequels have a coherent narrative. You can understand what's going on, but when you watch the sequels, like none of these movies connect. The characters are completely different depending on who's writing or directing them. So it's just whatever happens. Like there's no cohesion. Yeah. Like so that there will not be a Revenge of the sequels that's successful.
It sounds funny when you say it. I'm sorry. Revenge of the sequels.
Yeah, it's not going to happen because anyone with even a shred of like knowledge of these movies can tear that to shreds. If someone tries to defend The Last Jedi, there's like probably at this point hundreds of hours of content of individual creators calling out the nonsense in The Last Jedi. Like they can't do that because even with all the complaints about the prequels, when you look at it, when you really look at a lot of the stuff people say about the prequels, a lot of it is either exaggerated or outright invented. Especially when you look at the prequel, the Plinkett reviews.
Yeah,
it's like when you actually take a closer look at that criticism, you can say there's some pretty big issues with the prequel criticism, but when you look at the criticism of the sequels, a lot of that is just very reasonable stuff. So you can't disprove that. If someone went to the average video of someone criticizing the Last Jedi, and they tried to do a breakdown of why it was wrong, they'd get laughed at.
Agreed. Fighting expert pulls out sword. Who you calling kid? I'm not familiar with that quote, but I appreciate the super chat. Disney's definitely going to try that with them having the Mandoverse and the Bad Batch, and probably parts of Kenobi leading into the Rise of Skywalker. They're probably gonna include some sort of BS that explains how Obi-Wan was able to communicate, and the rest of the Jedi are able to communicate with Rey. like in when she like gets back onto her feet in the Rise of Skywalker and she's communicating with all the Force ghosts. Even though the fucking Qui-Gon Jinn and Yoda and Obi-Wan and Anakin are the only ones who've become a Force ghost up to that point. Oh, and Luke, for that matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luke uses his Force ghost powers to raise a fucking X-Wing out of the fucking water. That's how bad it got. That's pretty fucking bad.
Remember, guys? Remember when Yoda did this? Remember?
I appreciate the callback, and I appreciate the fact that J.J. Abrams had Luke Skywalker acting like Luke Skywalker again, but the fucking... It's like, wow, if Force Ghost... I mean, first it was summoning lightning to zap trees in The Last Jedi, now Luke's raising an X-Wing as a Force Ghost. It's like, you guys... you ruined it. It's all ruined. It's all dead. Anyway. Okay, so all right, we're almost done. Let's keep going, cool man.
There's probably going to be a lot of discourse about people re-examining. I bet you 20 years from now, there's going to be a lot of that shit. The prequel trilogy for me is filled with issues, but each and every one of them just bumped up ever so slightly after the sequel trilogy, which is weird, man. That's weird, and I hope that George Lucas is somewhere smiling.
Okay, well, firstly, I agree. I hope he is somewhere smiling. I would like to believe he is, except for the fact that Disney's kind of,
the white
for lack of it, well, the term I was going to use, Disney is currently butt fucking his franchise's corpse. But I'm sure George Lucas is smiling wherever he is. The fact that he has become a very beloved and treasured figure in pop culture, especially, I mean, he had his backlash, but in recent years, he's become adored. And I think he was always adored, but, I certainly always adored him, but, like, he's really become very treasured in recent years. What I was trying to say, my initial point was going to be is, yes, the prequels improved for you because of the sequels. However, that is an exception. That is, you're one of, I imagine, quite a few out there, but who are still a minority of people who think higher of the prequels just because of the quality of the sequels. I'm pretty sure Robot Head fits into that category too. I'm pretty sure he told me on his stream that he basically just, the issues he had basically meant very little to him after the sequels.
I mean, I've seen that take so often because people were like, yeah, the prequels are bad Star Wars movies, and then they actually got bad Star Wars movies, and they were like, oh, we had no idea what we were talking about then.
Yeah, but like, there is certainly that take out there. I still maintain that is as many people. I mean, granted, there are a lot of Star Wars fans out there. I still maintain that is the minority of perspective out there, and the people who are praising the prequels always adored them or always mostly liked them, and suddenly they had a voice to speak up because one people grew up with the prequels, and the people who actually watched them and actually understood them were having their voices heard, and two, like for example, let's get a really good example would be Padme's death, dying of heartache. I used to think that was like George Lucas going a bit overboard and, too Shakespearean. Turns out, and again, it was the fans who, honestly, it was prequel fans who really like not changed my perspective on the prequels, but really opened my eyes to a lot of facts. I used to think lesser of the prequels, but I always liked them, and people were saying to me like, "Dude, you realize this is what's true about the prequels, and this is a falsity, right?" Like, for example, the practical effects one is a big one. The George Lucas not asking, the George Lucas having a bunch of yes man was another one, another falsity. And Padme's death being dumb. well, I'll certainly maintain that it is unusual. It makes sense because given her situation and circumstances, and the fact that broken heart syndrome, I think that's what it's called, is actually a real thing. Like, while it's like Shakespeare, it feels Shakespearean and like a poetic, tragic end to a love story. Broken hearts, like people can, it's actually physically possible to die from a broken heart. So it's like, wow, all right, I guess there's more truth to that than I thought. Um, Crap, I forgot where I was going with this shit. Okay, yeah, well, yeah. What I was trying to say is like it was people who. Okay, now I remember. It was the prequel fans who had always been there that really opened my eyes, and they're the majority of people having their voices heard. The people who are backtracking because of the sequels, while they exist and while they certainly are in abundance, they're still a minority. Is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, like I disagree with the perspective that that the prequels are good because the sequels are bad. No. That's changes people's perspective. Yes, but that didn't change the prequels. That just made people start to appreciate them when they didn't before. And I think that's the better way to say it, because people saying that, oh, the sequels are bad, so that made the prequels better. Like, no. It just made you start to see them in a different light. That's what happened.
Yeah, people saying that the only reason people are loving the prequels now is because the sequels are bad. It's the biggest straw man like possibly ever seen in my life. It's just like slapping a label on people who are like who actually did their research, who are paying attention, people who have always been there, and you're dismissing them because they don't jive with your shitty, ignorant fucking take on these movies that you let the internet warp your fucking head over. And you're just fucking just tossing that out there as a way to dismiss them. Like, yeah, anyone who says like, like for example, Cosmonaut says, people, the prequels did not suddenly become good movies because the sequels are bad. Or I forget, was it Cosmonaut or was it someone else? I don't know. But that take exists out there. I see it way more common than I would like to. And anyone who has that take can go fuck themselves because it's not true. Like, I love the prequels, and I don't even agree with that. The prequels did not suddenly become good movies because the sequels are bad. The prequels have always been what they are, which is fantastic. Anyway. Not flawless, but fantastic. Anyway.
Yeah. That's all I can say. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. This was fun to talk about. I do want to talk about something else in the future, like I mentioned, and that is why we don't see movies of a certain kind today. You hear this a lot. Why don't they make movies like blank anymore? I'd like to talk about that because I don't think the reason is necessarily what everyone tends to think. So look forward to that very soon, guys. Thank you so much, as always, for watching.
Okay.
If you like,
we're done here. We're done here. And just for the record, I would be very interested in seeing that movie from Chris because it sounds like an interesting topic. It's certainly one I agree with. Like, I just say, why don't we get movies like this anymore? I know the reason why, but yeah, it's yeah, it'd be good to see what he will make from that. All right, guys. So, Erodion, you will not get me Stuckmanized.
Stuckmanized.
I think he meant Stuckmanized instead of Stuckmaned. But yeah. Alrighty. Well, guys, look, Jesus, over 3 hours. Starting to cramp up here a little bit. We might go till the 3:10 mark, or maybe the 3. Oh, I'll go for 5 more minutes. Just see what everyone's up to, what everyone thought. Did you guys enjoy the stream? I hope so. Do you have any questions? Let me know.
Yeah, Yelperman.
You just say you hate the why you just say why you hate the prequels. You don't actually say why they're bad. NOMZ.
2020.
Well, I'm pretty sure I said you just say you hate the prequels. You don't actually say why they're bad. Because if he said why he hates the prequels, then he is saying why they're bad. So I don't know. I think that's a misquote, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Thanks for the streams. You're welcome, buddy. You're welcome.
Stuckmanized outro music. Jedi Bunny 24-hour stream. Oh no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that.
I mean, like Charlie's. What the fuck? My mouse is terrible.
10 hours.
Charlie says go 10 hours. That would be killer. 24 hours would kill me. Fuck no.
Yeah. Like, look, I would actually genuinely have to prepare for a 24-hour stream. You can't just spur that idea on me.
24-hour stream. It is nice to know people would actually be interested in seeing that, but I don't have the stamina.
I mean, that could be fun, but like it would definitely be something you have to plan around because like they're because since I work full time, it's like I can't spare. Like it's very rare to be able to spare a full 24 hours. And then to stay up that whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. Go 48 hours. Oh, that'll be the day, won't it?
Oh, John Corey, you want me to say I'm ready like on Spun Drop? I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Oh, I thought he was going to say, I thought you meant the pirate. Are you ready, kids?
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, Captain.
I can't hear you.
Oh, who lives in a pineapple under the sea? I'm getting Clancy Brown flashbacks from that little chat we had. Just like
Clancy Brown.
It's like you told me it was Mr. Krabs, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you were like that guy from Starship Troopers, and I was like, who? What? And you're like, oh, Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown. He's Mr. Krabs. He's also Lex Luthor. Like, dude, like. How did you not know he's one of the most prolific and famous voice actors?
Yeah, wait, what was it? By the way, I know Home is 100% a Sony movie. It's a joint production, but it's completely controlled by Sony. You really think so? I think it's a joint. I mean, I think Sony would have to sign off on everything because they certainly have more ownership of Spider-Man than Disney does. But I still see it. It's still very clearly an MCU product if you look at it. Like it's an MCU movie through and through. You just tell by the trailers.
Yeah, like it's a joint project, but they've been doing that since Homecoming. Like Homecoming was that way, so was Far From Home, and this is like it's not being made differently. Because it's still they both have to work together, and it's going to be an MCU movie. Like that it's obviously. Like you said, you can see from the trailers, it's going to be an MCU movie. Like all of the MCU isms
the jokes,
are in it.
The tone, it's No Way Home is going to be. I don't want it to be a dumpster fire. I just want it to be okay, and I can live with that. And I'll call it a fucking. I'll call it a decade on the MCU. So I'll call it a day, call it a year, I'll call it a decade. I'm so sick of it. Weak source, year-long stream. That'd be like the fucking Truman Show. Yeah. All right, guys. Oh, hey. Is this the real Star Wars only? I'm tired of Disney owning everything. Would be funny if Sony took back full control. I mean, dude, honestly, first off, is this the real Star Wars only?
I doubt it.
So, welcome. I'm gonna say I doubt it for the moment too.
Yeah,
but
I don't know why YouTube took out the ability to check. Like you used to be able to click through to the channel, and you could instantly check if it was someone, but they took that ability out for some reason.
That's weird. It would help. I mean, they took out dislikes, so what's next, you reckon? Anyway. I'm tired of Disney owning everything. It would be fun. Would be funny if Sony took back full control of Spider-Man. I would certainly prefer it out of Disney's hands, but not by much because Sony is still shit cunts. But I hate Disney more.
I don't.
If Sony want to make a Spider-Man 4 where they just let Sam Raimi do his thing, I'll be mildly happier. But that's me.
I don't care if Disney loses, or I don't care if Sony wins. I just want Disney to lose.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, if that's real Star Wars only, thank you. I appreciate you stopping by. Up next on NOMZ being NOMZ moments. What the fuck is Steve Bloom? Bloom? Blum?
Steve Bloom,
Who the fuck is Steve Bloom?
the voice actor.
Of who?
Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, okay. Well, I was about to say,
And
what the fuck is Spike
well,
Spiegel? But yeah, I haven't. I've only watched like the first 20 minutes of the first Cowboy Bebop episode.
okay,
so.
yeah. Steve Bloom is in a bunch of things. In Star Wars Rebels, he's Zeb.
Oh, is he really?
Yes.
Oh, I love Zeb. He's great. Yeah, no, yeah, and I actually mostly like Rebels. Just FYI, people. I actually thought Rebels was all right. World Between Worlds episode though, man, that tested me. Am I going to get to the Plinkett reviews? And people were asking me, am I still going to talk about Stuckmann after this video he made? The answer is yes, because yes to both. And because I still think Stuckmann's videos, like, again, they get a lot of points wrong, and they were the videos that soured me on the prequels. Again, even though I never explicitly hated them, I did think lesser of them. So I think there would be important videos to address, just for the sake of correcting them. I will, however, be far more charitable in the Stuckmann episodes. So just fair warning to that. I will be very, like, for example, I'll mention how Chris influenced my channel. I'll mention how he's, walked back on certain opinions, and how he's, made certain changes to his style, and how he, looks at the prequels as well as other movies too. So chances are he possibly doesn't stand by a lot of what he says in here. Nonetheless, we're going to talk about him, and we're going to, kind of correct some of his points that are just factually incorrect. But I'll get to that probably next year. We'll see how we go. I've been focused on a few other things. I've been focused on my gaming channel recently because Halo Infinite's coming out. I'm working on a big video for I'm working on a medium video for Halo Infinite and its greedy monetized business practices. Personally think it's one of my best rants. So you guys can look forward to that. You have to subscribe to the NOMZ channel. Link is in the description. Yelperman. Gallup took a poll when Phantom Menace came out. Less than 6% found the movie poor. Prequel haters have been gaslighting for 22 years and counting. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Gaslighting is the fucking coward's tactic, man. They don't have shit and they know it. I managed to score a ticket without paying because I have a friend. I'm going to see No Way Home opening night. Yeah, a friend of mine's taking off work so he can go see it. I thought about doing it, but I'm like, nah, I can wait to see No Way Home. I'll see it that night, like after work, but I'm not going to skip work to see it. Like he is. Yeah. My revenge on Stuckmann. First off, I'm not really looking for revenge on Stuckmann, but like the series will probably come out next year on his videos. Time will tell. It was meant to come out earlier this year, but then I decided I just wanted to do other things. It's that simple, and I apologize if people have been really waiting for it. Oh god, it's been said that No Way Home is the end game of Spider-Man films. It might be the end of Spider-Man films if it's poorly received and if it turns out to be a dumpster fire, but I mean, there's going to be so many fucking nostalgia bait in there that, like, even if it's dumpster fire, people aren't going to hate it. I managed to score a ticket without...
Did you already read that?
Yeah, sorry, thanks. I can do spoiler talk on the 17th. Well, I mean, I'll have to see it too, remember? But I think it removed that feature in response to all the porn bots. Oh, in regards to, like, clicking on profiles and links to channels and stuff.
Well, thanks for making it harder to tell if someone is actually who they are. Thanks.
Yeah, YouTube, can you switch on dislikes again too? I'd appreciate that. Anyway, look, guys, I'm beat. It's been a long week. I'm sure Cool Man's pretty beat as well. He had work today. It's been it's Friday for you. It's so it is Friday for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So look, I'm gonna say good morning. He's gonna say good night. Thanks for joining into the stream. I appreciate it.
Good morning, good evening, and good night.
Yeah. You can find a link to Cool Man's channel in the description. You can find a link to all my channels in the description. Gaming channel. I've linked the podcast channel where this will eventually be re-uploaded once it goes down. I'll leave it up for a little bit after we go off the air. Is that the expression? Anyway. Special thanks to the channel members for supporting the channel and for attending the stream, and channel Patreon supporters as well. You can find, hit the join button if you want to become a member. You can click the Patreon link if you want to become a patron. All that jazz, up to you. Join the Discord. I would strongly recommend. We're all in there. We're all fun to talk to. We try to keep things fun and engaging and civil. And if you want to just talk and express your opinions and whatever, then head over there and we'll chat and it'll be fun. I have been spending a lot less time in the Discord though because I've been working so much, but it's linked to Discord is in the description below as well. And yeah, I think that's everything. Thanks guys for a banger stream. Had a blast, and same time next week. We'll see you then. Cheers.
Yep. See ya.